Con?
It'll be back in a second. I moved it because I'm getting some finished. Are you going to Dragon Con?
No, too spendy for me.
Yeah, I can understand that. Let me toss this on.
Looking for stories that are fresh and new? Dark fantasy, humor, space exploration, time travel, cyberpunk, alternate history, and more. They're in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology. From 24 award-winning authors and illustrators, plus art and writing tips and bonus stories. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Buy your copy at galaxypress.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold. Looking for something new in sci-fi or fantasy? Check out what Brandon Sanderson, Orson Scott Card, Nnedi Okorafor, and others chose as the best news stories of the year in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology. From 24 award-winning authors and illustrators, plus art and writing tips and bonus stories. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Buy your copy at galaxypress.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.
Hello out there, people. I hope everyone's having a fantastic Friday night. I mean, on the West Coast, y'all's nice just getting started. I mean, it's 7 o'clock. Shit. That ain't nothing. It's 9 for me. It's 10 for the weirdos on the East Coast. I love you out East Coast. Just come on, guys. Even y'all have to admit you're a little strange. I know Californians are strange, but come on, man. I think sometimes y'all beat California out. I'm just an observation. That's all. No, I like both states. I mean, I go to Cali regularly, usually twice a year. I'll be in DC later this year and New York later. So I like states, but you know. You forget people. I'm deep out. I mean, deep out. I live freaking. You can't even get no deeper than I am. The Gulf is literally 100 yards from my house. I mean, come on. You can't. I'm deep south. I'm like, ooh, deep. Anyway, I guess tonight is Wulf Moon. He was almost a couple of weeks ago. He's a great guest. He's a lot of fun to talk to. Harassing a few times at different Writers of the Future gigs. And he's a good-natured individual, too. How he puts up with some of these people that talk to him, I'd be like, are you really talking to me? You need to go away. It's one of the reasons I'm probably not allowed out of the field. I do. When I'm doing lectures sometimes, especially if I know it's going to be a popular one, I'll say, look, people, everybody can talk to me later on, but when I get off stage, I want to chill. And then y'all can. I'll usually go to a table and talk to me. But Wulf knows a lot about a lot. I was talking with two of my hosts this afternoon who have actually wrote books themselves. Well, one I think he's wrote two or three Bigfoot books. So I don't know if you categorize Bigfoot as a novel or not. It was like 500 pages. I guess he's out there. But this is a good show for him to listen to tonight. There's going to be a lot of information costs to do there. There's another version of this that we're giving away. This is my version. So y'all just don't. I've done bent edges on it and stuff. I was reading it in bed the other night. I'm just saying, it's my version. The other one is I think my daughter was reading through it. She keeps snatching books out of here. Yeah, she's got the good one right there. Well, I don't want to pull mine down because this is pristine. And he helps out on the Writers of the Future gig. You can go over there and take the course. You're good enough. He might talk to you.
I'll always talk to you.
Anyway, he is really nice. I mean, unless you're a complete, like me, you can't write at all. If I show up in the writer's course, you're going to go home. Just go home. I've watched him with a lot of people, and he's very well educated. Really takes. What's that? Janessa? Where are you from, Janessa? So tonight, if you're going to use the messenger, if you use the YouTube chat room, Facebook chat room, I won't ask you where you're from. If you use my messenger, I'm going to ask you where you're from. Just telling you ahead of time. So Janessa, where are you from? Philadelphia. I feel for you, baby. Just feel for you. We've done many specials on this show in Philadelphia. Not that I've been much better than New Orleans. All I'm saying is I feel for you. So what's your question? to Mr. Wulf would appreciate knowing what would be the number one. Give me a number one thing. What would it be to get me started? To help me get my ass off the ground, so to say. Such language there.
All right. Well, good to be on your show again, Joe.
Wulf, I love you, baby.
Nice to be with you. Always fun when you're at Writers of the Future. That's a real kick. So, in case people haven't guessed it yet, Joe is the life of the party. He makes parties happen.
We do make parties happen.
Yeah, that's right. So, Janessa, that's what's hard when we first start, is that, where do you begin? It's such a big thing and it can seem very daunting, but honestly, where you begin is writing something and finishing what you write. And in the beginning, it probably won't be a masterpiece, but that was the case for Van Gogh and Monet and all the other artists. When they started, it wasn't a masterpiece, but they kept painting. And you need to keep writing and you'll get better. But they also had another secret. They pooled knowledge. They would meet in Paris and they would talk and they would share ideas with one another. And pointillism sprung out of that, and all these different forms, because they were all trying to experiment and work together as a team, really pushing the envelope on what they were doing. And they actually discovered new ways to paint. So it's the same way with writing. So not only do you keep practicing yourself, but you try to get some extra help from someone above you. And if you can get a mentor or a writing instructor, or get, direction from somebody that's actually done what you want to do, obviously you're going to advance faster. And that's the old apprentice with a master way of training. So if you can get that to happen, and that's by finding the right mentor, you can really speed up that process. So you're not just painting and throwing it away. You'll actually create works that are on track to actually be publishable. So that's my recommendation to you. Of course, I've written some super secrets online. They're in the Writers of the Future forum that are free to read, so that I can help you. And then I also have that workbook that I was showing you a moment ago, the Super Secrets of Writing, the illustrated Super Secrets. That one's lots of pictures. It's real pretty and fun. And of course, then which is why I'm on the program tonight, I wrote this book to help you out, How to Write a Howling Good Story. So, and this one actually goes through all the nuts and bolts, all the foundation principles you need so that you can build your skills and actually understand what makes a story work, because that's the biggest problem for new writers. They don't know what makes a story work. So this goes through the fundamentals, so you learn them. And once you understand a thing, you can make that thing work for you you can't make it work for you until you understand how it works. And so, you've read lots of stories, but there's a whole different thing about reading a story and then lifting up the hood and understanding what's the engine inside of there that makes everything work. And so that's why I designed the Super Secrets, so you could understand what the alternator is, what the pistons are, how they function. And once you know that, you could actually troubleshoot your stories and figure out why they aren't running. In other words, why they aren't selling, because there's something usually not working right, not running right, and you can't see it because you don't know yet. So that's why I wrote the book. That's why I've made it available to people. And there's free information online at the Writers of Future forum in their workshop. And that's free, so I'd advise you to take that. It's the online workshop. And then you got my Super Secrets inside of there, a forum thread in there called Wolf Moon Super Secrets.
On a side note, for just a second, let me interrupt you. So I've taken this course he's talking about three times. I can't, so I'm going all through the whole damn thing. I have learned more from the people talking, from notes he's got on there, from the message board. But for some reason, the last part you got to write like a short story. Can get it short. I'm trying. It's like everything else. But so my writing is how can I say this politely to myself? Questionable. Now Janessa says she's written three what you would call novels. She said they were all horrible. She said everyone her husband told her. That's horrible. So she asked him, rule number one, you should never ask your mom or dad, or your ask your meanest sibling in the family. They might be honest with you. But the reason I've heard a couple of judges say this, because a lot of times your mom or your dad, oh yeah, honey, that was great, and it sucked beyond belief. So and be honest with you, you got to be willing to get your feelings hurt to be in this business. You know, it's going to every now and then you're going to think you have something, and it's going to get out in the world, and it's going to go pop. I know. Trust me. I know from personal experience. It's so you guys got to keep plugging money, man. Get over there to Writers of the Future. Check out Wulf Secrets. Listen to all the different judges they had. They got a card. Isn't Kevin on the video over there?
David Farland and Tim Powers.
Yeah, and Tim Powers. So you got three of the greatest writers on the planet. You can go see now. One of the other advantages to listen to Wulf is he has access to everybody we just talked about. Plus many more. And he also has access to several years of winners. So he's got knowledge that because he's in the right place and he's intelligent, that he can pull together and show y'all how to do it. He's a winner. He's a winner, by the way. Yeah, somebody just asked me. He's a winner.
Yeah, my story is in Writers of the Future, Volume 35. And it's called Super Duper Moon Girl and the Amazing Moon Dawdler. It's about let's see if I can get you the picture of it. It's about a 12-year-old girl on the moon, there it is, with her life support robo-dog that comes into great danger trying to protect her. So I had over 100 people write to me saying the story made them cry, touched them so deeply that they had read it to their child. I had even just lately, I had a heavy metal band. He's a leader of several heavy metal bands. They tour Europe, so he's well known in the heavy metal field. And he wrote to me. He said, "I read every Writers of the Future volume. I've been behind, and when I read yours, he said, I will now buy anything that you write." He said the story was that good, and he's proven true to his word. So anyway, I hope you'll read Super Duper Moon Girl and the Amazing Moon Girl. That again? Writers of the Future, Volume 35. It's the one with a robot on the cover. A Bob Eggleton painting. You know what's cool about this? Years ago, I talked to Bob Eggleton at the Nebula Awards, and I said, because he's the artist that did this cover, I said, my heart's desire is to have you do the cover of a book that I would be in. And he said, well, he said it can happen. Talk to your publisher, and you know they could request me. And when I won Writers of the Future, it was a Bob Eggleton painting. I was so happy. So dreams come true when you win Writers of the Future, even dreams they don't know about. The other funny thing, I was sitting at the signing afterwards, and Dean Wesley Smith was my mentor when I lived in Eugene, Oregon. And they didn't know this, and they sat him right next to me for the signing because he has a story in the book too. So I'm sitting next to Dean and looking at him. We're both signing books together. And the last time I'd sat with him was 20 years ago when we were both, he was the editor of the Star Trek anthology I was in. And I looked at Dean. I said, well, Dean, it looks like I've come full circle. And he laughed. He said, yep. But just weird, cool things happen when you win Writers of the Future. And those are a couple of really cool things for me. So it brought Dean and I back together after I'd moved out of Eugene.
He's a character when you get him to talk. He's not always that open to talk. You got to get him to talk. But I know the first one I went to when we had that double one. I ran into a pack of the writers and a couple of illustrators were trying to figure out the business side. And I got to thinking because I talked to him earlier today. And I realized he did all of this everything himself. So I said, let's go talk to Dean. So I asked Dean, because I have a corporation and an S corp for different businesses. And so I said, look, you can probably explain this better than I can. So he walked them through. To sole proprietorship, all the way up to corporation. And of course, you don't need a corporation until you've got several million coming in. And even then, a lot of times an S corp will cover you. S corp is limited, and then there's always limited liability.
LLC, yep.
Yeah, LLC. It's unfortunate people had to learn all this, and I didn't have anybody help me. Had to learn freaking hard way.
So one last thing for Janessa, because she said that she's writing novels. When we're new, we usually put way too much in. And a novel gives you so much space that you think you can do whatever you want. The problem is all of that extra stuff can be very boring for readers, and you don't know that you don't need it. So learning short story first really helps you to write tighter, learning flash, even more tighter. And then when you expand out into your novel, it probably won't have so much extra stuffing that you don't need. So your readers will stay interested and you'll stay on course. So I'd recommend that too, that working on writing tighter. And I do editing. I've edited many new writers' manuscripts. And that's the biggest thing I see is that they don't trust the reader. They think they have to give them a lot more information than they need. And that's something you learn over time, but you actually got to be consciously working on cutting it down, reducing what you're putting on the page. And that's very hard for new writers to see. They just think they need all of that, and they don't.
Go ahead. Her husband just described her novel as peanut butter and jelly sandwich just oozing out the sides. Out of control. Going wherever.
Yeah, so
I'm sorry,
that's okay for you. I mean, if you want a big gooey sandwich like that, but a lot of people are like, well, this is going everywhere. I just wanted to get a nice tight sandwich, so generous, but, not flowing everywhere. So, and that's what a good plot does. If you stay with the plot and you know why you're writing and where you're heading, what your destination is, that's going to help a lot. And short stories really teach you that, because you can't wander all over the place. You don't have the room to do it. So you've got to stay right on the path to getting to that concluding climax and then the denouement. So, I really encourage you to keep practicing in short story. Otherwise, you're going to throw away tons of novels until you finally, that's what Brandon Sanderson did. That there is a way to do that. He wrote many novels until finally he sold Elantris. So it can happen, but you'll have to write hundreds of thousands of words one way or another until you finally get to a point where you realize it's got to be tighter. So that's my recommendation. I have in my book, How to Write a Howling Good Story, and also in the illustrated workbook, something called Kill Your Darlings to help you out. And Kill Your Darlings is actually a philosophy I teach where less is more. So, and we work on potent words that say many things with one word instead of many words that are meaningless.
I have to agree hard hole. Doing radio, I have X amount of time to get my brain out there. So you have to pick it carefully.
Yeah. So I hope that helps you, Janessa. And like I said, if you want the workbook or the How to Write a Howling Good Story, when that comes out next month, you'll have extra help.
Okay, I'm out of control. No, Janessa, I would recommend go over to writersofthefuture.com. Take the course. If you have problems with it, if you catch Wulf around, hit him up. If he's not busy, he might talk to you. He's busy. You remember, a lot of people want to talk to this guy. It's not just like, I got one person to talk to. It's not quite like. You have to remember, he keeps up with some of the past writers and stuff. Some of the past winners, I should say.
Well, and I also have the Wolfpack writers, which people, when they take one of my master classes, then I give them an invite into my Discord group where I keep mentoring them and helping them. I'm their writing coach then. And so I have many writers that I guide and continue to work with. And we have different exercises that we do so I can keep an eye on how they're progressing. I have a good idea of who's about to break out next because I can tell just by looking at like a Kill Your Darlings exercise that we do. So they're always asking for advice and usually behind the scenes. So I'm there to help them. But it does take a lot of my time. So go ahead.
I was going to say make a donation.
Well, the way you do is take a master class, take one of my master classes. Like I have the recordings, they're like $100. That's all. And you get specialized training. And then I give you an invite into my Wolf Pack, and we're together then. So I'm invested in your career. And I'll tell you, in the last 4 years, I've had 12 winners come out of the Wolf Pack, or the Super Secrets Workshop I teach, that have won Writers of the Future. And you have to remember, several thousand people enter this contest every quarter from around the world. In fact, in this Volume 40 year alone, we're at half the year now of the winners' results, and half the winners are from my Wolf Pack. So they're learning, and we're working together to train. So we're kind of like, I'm like the sensei, and they're the people trying to rise up to black belt. And we're all in there practicing our kicks and learning, the moves that can help you rise up and move through levels of belts. That's really what's going on. So sparring with other writers, training with other writers, and then having a mentor or a sensei, that is the way you pass knowledge on in a much faster way than if you just say, well, I'm going to go all to these meets because I'm excellent and I already know everything and I don't need help from anybody, and I'm going to be a black belt. In fact, I'm just going to sign up at the black belt level, which is like being a professional writer. It's like writers are the only ones that think, well, I write, therefore I'm great, I'm brilliant. And it's like, well, everybody else knows you have to train before you get to Carnegie Hall and get to have a solo gig. But writers, for some reason, we get in this echo chamber with our own heads, and then we forget that, we actually have to train, and we actually have to learn what other people are doing, what their moves are, so that we can figure out how to do our moves that will get us ahead. So
it's a tight competition. Wait out of my damn. CPS are all aged. Something important. It'll come back to me soon. What's that? Carolyn. Oh, wait. No, I'll take this question. I'm gonna take this question. So look. No one in Wolf's class. He can't go to the judges and say, hey, give me my guy. It don't work. I'm sorry, people. I know y'all always looking for conspiracies. And I did. That's how I met John and them. It's John was telling me he was wanting to show a network, and he was telling me about this Writers of the Future contest, and I was like, yeah, whatever, dude. I said, this is bullshit going on here. So he invited me out. I spent 6 days harassing every judge. I'm not kidding about harassing. I was harassing winners. I was passing over all the services. And I'm going to tell you, if I didn't ask 5,000 questions that week, and everyone was asked with not even a quiver. So, usually people are going to lie, they'll pause a little bit, or they'll look away or something. These people were just like, wham, wham, wham. And then I got to talk to everybody involved. But what was nice is I talked to the judges with not anyone from Writers of the Future. So they had an option to tell me anything. And so far, it's exactly what it is. It's L. Ron paying back. L. Ron Hubbard, sorry. Yeah, and that's what it is. It's him paying back. I can't find any fault with it. I can't find anything wrong with it. What do you mean? Friendly? When you work together all the time, you're going to be friendly. Yeah, these people work together every day. Oh no, they're a high freaking energy. But anyway, enough about that.
Can I describe how the judging works so they know?
Yeah, go ahead. Tell them.
Yeah, Joe. So, what's her name? What was her name?
Carolyn.
Carolyn. Okay, Carolyn. So, Carolyn, this is the fairest and purest judging I've ever seen in a contest. And I've won many contests, over 40 writing contests. You win them by skill, not by who you know. But in this contest especially, the only way you enter, when you send your manuscript, it can't have your name on it anywhere, nor on the file name, nor in the metadata. If they see your name anywhere, you're immediately disqualified and sent back. So number one, your name's not on the manuscript. You have to fill out information in a portal that assigns a number to your manuscript. And that number is the only thing the first reader and the coordinating judge sees when they read your stories. That's it. And even then, if it were somehow to get through past them, but it's a number, how do they know who you are? Even then the coordinating judge hands it off to 4 other top names in the field, and they then judged the finalists, which are 8 finalists, to find the 3 winners. And again, they have no idea who they are, what country they're from, what race they are, what political party they like. None of it. All they have is the merits of the story itself. It's just words on a page with a number. And then when they pick the 3 winners, it then goes back to Joni Labaki, who's the contest coordinator. And then she matches the numbers to the name, and then she calls the winners. So it's taken out of everybody's hands by doing the number. It's a blind judging system. And then it's got an extra safety where you have, all of these professional judges. They then separately judge the top 8 to find the top 3. So there's no way anybody can say number 7 is so-and-so, give them the win. It's all blind. It's done inside of a computer system, a portal that just assigns numbers to them. So it's the fairest judging system I've ever seen. And that's what makes the contest so special. It's merit alone. And in a lot of these big awards, well, everybody knows who the person is, and they can get teams of people, and often do, to push their special person that they want to win the award. It's not like that in Writers of the Future. So it's the purest form of judging you can have. It's called blind judging.
That's what it is. No, guys, I was down there. I talked to all the judges. I talked one to a judge. I know a couple of coordinated judges these days I'm actually friends with. Some of them are bad influences on me too, by the way. But to be honest, what he said is actually completely true. It's just the way it works. And it's just such a nice thing to see because Janine is 12. Yeah, there's 12 winners a year. No, he was talking about for a quarter. Yeah, three or quarter. And so you can actually submit 4 times a year. You really can. I don't know if I would submit the same story unless it was really damn good. And I guarantee Joni will send you a letter along with it if it is.
Some have one sending the same story over and over and revising every time. That's very rare. And then sadly, I've seen them not doing much after that because all they know how to do is work on one story, one world, one idea. But what I recommend to people, which is a better way to try to win the contest, but it's better to become a professional writer, enter a fresh story every quarter. And when you do that, every 3 months, you've got to write a new story. And guess what happens to your abilities when you're constantly writing new stories? You get better. You're not working on the same one, the same idea. You're actually expanding your mind by pushing it to the envelope. And when I did that, I made a commitment, and we can talk about, we got a long time here tonight. I can tell you how I won the contest later. But when I made a commitment to write a fresh story every quarter, it took me like 4 years. And out of the 14 times I entered, 13 times I got certificates. And that's the other beautiful thing about the contest. You'll start getting higher and higher certificates. It goes from honorable mention when you're in that top 10%. And then it'll go to silver honorable mention. So you're in a much more finite group, about the top 5%. And then you can get down to the top 1% when you're one of the 8 finalists. Oh, there's a semifinalist too. You're in the top like 16 when you get that. And then you get a critique when you hit semifinalists from Jody Lynn Nye, who's a best-selling judge, best-selling writer, and she'll actually tell you how to improve your work. You can't resubmit that story, but that'll help you see what you need to work on. Because remember, when you're newer, like I said, you have blind spots that you can't see. But if somebody who's very experienced looks at your work and tells you, oh, you need to fix this. Well, that's what happened to me. David Farland was the coordinating judge when I won. And he said, Moon, he said, on the level of world building alone, your story was better than probably all the others put together as the finalists. He said, but you got to learn to kill your darlings. So that's why I'm telling you to learn to kill your darlings. He said, I just was doing too much because I was thinking like a novelist. And I had to realize short stories are a different animal. So you have to actually learn how to write short. So tight.
What I give you 17,000 words?
Yeah, that's the maximum. That's a novelette. And really the sweet spot, most stories win in 6,000 to 8,000 word range. We've added it up on several different anthologies. And 8,000 is the sweet spot. Mine was 6,200 words, Super Duper Moon Girl and the Amazing Moon Dawdler. So but the issue is, the more words you have, the more possibilities of making a mistake. It's very hard to write a tight story that doesn't have mistakes when you got double and triple the size of other stories. So you want that sweet spot where you can show them that you can build a world and build a character and build a plot, which is about 6,000 to 8,000 words. But when you go to 17,000, you can have a tendency to have too much stuffing. And often that's the case. And I've heard the judges talk about that. They actually, when they see the big stories, they go, oh no. But they say they read them anyway and they give them a fair chance. But most of the time they find there's just too much there and they could have condensed it down.
Antonio's got a question. Where are you from, Antonio? Y'all asked where you got lucky. I didn't see where y'all from. Where you from, Antonio? Tijuana? You like safe down there, man. I've been there. Just saying, dude. You live in a good side of town. No, I'm just teasing. It's everything. So anyway, what's your question? Since I'm rambling. Oh, well, he wants to know, since he's from Mexico, can he win?
Yeah. We have winners from all over the world. That's the whole point of the contest. Nobody knows where you're from. They only know how's your writing. So the trick would be, like, if you don't have a great command of English, you're going to want to get that command of English because you're competing against people that do have a good command of English. And if you have issues with it, then get somebody that can translate it, get a good editor that can fix it. So I've actually helped some writers that have a harder time with language because they're in a foreign country. So it'll help your odds go way up because you have to write at a level that's professional. That's you got to rise to the top of thousands of other people, and many of them are very good at English and writing stories too. So that's the only thing. They won't know what country you're from, but if you don't have a good command of English, you'll have to somehow get that manuscript up to
it will make it a little harder when you come. If you win and you come. I've met several other people from different countries. We just recently had two winners from Puerto Rico. Where was it? They're really nice guys. They were a little nervous. America's kind of intimidating if you're not from here. Yeah, we're known as just get a gun and shoot everything. Which is not really true, Pete.
Were they artists? Movies. Were you talking about artists?
They were artists.
Yeah, artists, they don't have to know the English language. They just have to be able to paint and draw. So, some of them that get up on the stage can barely say thank you very much for this award. So
Antonio says his English is as good as ours.
Awesome.
Well, Tijuana probably so.
Yeah.
That's it.
Good. So write your story.
Tell me, Antonio, what you doing? What do you do for a living in Tijuana? This is also a new show.
That's a dangerous question.
I mean, is it anything I should be asking about? I'm just teasing. I don't want to get you in trouble. I know radio and TV is tempted to say stuff when you shouldn't. Clara Reese Morrison. Where are you from? Portland, Oregon. I got several friends in Portland.
I used to live in Eugene, Oregon, and I was in the Wordos writing group down there, so it was a great writing group.
That's what you. Wait, is that what you were asking? I don't know. It scrolled up too fast. Hold on. It's. Is there any places important where she might be able to go meet people that may have the same interest? I don't know.
Well, if you join the Wulf Pack, which is an online group, I actually have some people in that area that are Wulf Pack members. So you'd actually get help online, but we also have people in Portland and Vancouver, which is right across the water there, Vancouver, Washington.
She said she was thinking of a smoky little corner.
Yeah.
Put alcohol. You're talking about a jazz club.
Yeah. We're talking about writers.
It's just too much.
We're working writers here.
That's right.
Yeah. First we write, then we drink. That's how it works. That's how Jack London did it. First he had to write, and then he could go drink. So he worked hard right away in the morning and then drank the rest of the time.
Leonard, where you from, Leonard? Boston. Hey. What do you mean? Can you cheat? Cheat what?
Cheat what?
Oh, you made the Grim Reaper. That was a good one this year. I don't know what you mean.
Cheat what?
You mean like starting off with a book, or maybe a way that you can. Oh, you're talking about AI. No, you can't.
You can't.
No way.
Why don't you come in?
Yeah, it's against the rules. You'll find many publishers state if they find out that you are using AI to create your stories, you are banned for life from their publication. So it's a big deal right now. And why would you want to do that? AI is stealing off other writers' works and then repackaging it. So you don't even get to learn how to do the legwork and how to stretch your own synapses so that they can figure out how to write a story. You're just going to handicap yourself. It's like looking over somebody's shoulder to answer questions on your paper at school. It's like, yeah, you might pass the test, but you're still not going to know anything. So
personally, I think it's going to be harder on the illustrators than the authors.
Yes.
I've seen quite a few pieces done by AI writing. They're not going to win the Oscars. Let's just put it like that. So I think it's going to be competition for them, unfortunately. And I heard a gaming company down here are hiring illustrators and writers to come run the AI software. So they want to give you the idea, and then they want you to put it in so because they'll do it faster. But they want to make sure you're monitoring the story so it comes out the way it's supposed to. I'm like, just let the guy write the story.
Exactly.
Nope. They figure they can do it instead of like 2-3 weeks or a month or two. They think they can do it like 2 days.
Yeah,
that's greed. That's what that is. It's greed. I'm not.
And you're only going to hurt yourself.
Yeah, I'm anti-AI.
Yeah, you're going to hurt yourself. So, AI is already running a lot of things in our world, but don't let it run creative process.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're just going to. All it is stealing other people's creative ideas where they worked hard to make them, and then it repackages them. So you're actually just plagiarizing humanity, and instead of coming up with new ideas, you're just plagiarizing what hard people worked hard to create. So
I was so pissed about it. The person that heard Jeff Weiner was on with this like a year ago. And we're talking, he starts doing all this shit with AI. I'm like, what is this? Well, I got off the phone with him. I called John. I said, John, this is bullshit. Y'all can't be letting this in.
Yeah.
Like a week later, I hear from me, said it's banned from here. I'm like, okay. Good. I was like, because that's just. How can I say this politely? Bullshit. Yeah, lucky I ain't got my little app on here with a little bullshit. I'm getting this for this stuff. What's that, Harold? Harold, wow. I haven't heard the word name heard. I just heard Harold in a long time.
It's a kingly name.
Like when I was like, anyway,
what's your question?
Where you from first? Heartland, Connecticut. Okay, I've never been there, but Connecticut's okay. You damn Yankee. We still love you. Wait, what? What do you mean? How do you? Oh, right. No, I got the question. So he's asking if he's doing the stuff at Writers of the Future. How could he meet you?
Oh, well, win the contest. They have me out to help teach the new winners, so that's nice. We'd meet there. That actually happened. There actually had a contest last year where people could enter as a non-winner to come, and somebody won that. He's now one of the Wolfpack writers. He took one of my workshops, and so now we're working together with him. But really nice guy. I got to visit with him, and we had a nice time. So, and he got to go to the gala. He just couldn't sit in on the workshops. So there is that. So watch for that. It'll be as we get closer to the gala. They did it last year. I assume they'll do it again. So it's the Writers of the Future Readers Contest. So you could actually get your trip paid out to just go hang out with the writers. So watch for that. Otherwise, online, we're in this beautiful online world where you don't have to travel everywhere. I have people in my Wolfpack that are in Italy, that are in Australia, New Zealand, Switzerland, and we're all working together, sharing knowledge and growing together, So it's not like the old days where you had to travel somewhere to go get the information you needed and get the mentoring you needed and get the convention you needed. You can now do it online and put things together. And then, like with the Wolfpack, then I organize conventions that we do go to meet one another at. So Superstars is the one we're going to next year. And I even organized the scholarship. So our Wolfpack members all donated to help other Wolfpack members get there that are less, having a harder time to be able to spend the money. And then I teach at Life, the Universe, and Everything convention. Both of these are in February. That one's in Utah. Great science fiction convention. And I teach master classes there and then do presentations there too. So, here's a couple of places that, if you're around those areas, the other one's in Colorado Springs, that's called Superstars Writing Seminars. These are places where you can go and get together with writers and find people that you connect with. And this is how you start building your group that you can help level up with. And, like we were talking about martial arts, your sparring partners that you can train with.
Well, I noticed most of the writers that I talk to
have little groups that they work with.
Yeah.
5,
6, 7, 8 people.
No, really, guys. Almost everyone that I've met that won had. There are other writers, but they're just working together.
Yeah, you go to a dojo and you train with other people and you learn, you take some kicks, you take some punches and you give some too. And you actually learn how to master so that you can go to competitions, which is what the contest is and what any magazine that you're sending off to, you're competing against others. And if they've been training and learning, they're going to get ahead of you. If you're just sitting in your cave saying, I am great, I am wonderful, because I can put words on a page, you're going to be terribly disappointed when you go to the meet or when you send your story out and it comes back rejected all the time, so because that's what's going to happen because you haven't trained, you haven't learned, you haven't had a mentor or sensei to say, here's how we learn, here's how we teach this, here's how you do this kick. And what was it, Bruce Lee, he said, I'm not afraid of the person that learns 10,000 kicks. He said, I'm afraid of the person that learns one kick 10,000 times, that guy is dangerous. So, but you need to learn what that kick is, just like in Karate Kid, you need to learn the crane stance, once he mastered that, he was able to win, but you got to have Mr. Miyagi there showing you how to do it, and then finally you figure it out as you practice. And that's what writing's all about. Practice, learn, practice, learn. But if you can get a mentor in there that can actually watch how you're kicking and say, no, higher, no, and don't go easy on yourself. You got to get to this level. Well, that changes everything because you're actually having a professional train you. So that's how the Olympics do it too, by the way. They don't go hire somebody that's an amateur skater to go train their teams. They have a coach that they won the gold medal, and then they hire that gold medalist to teach their people how to win a gold medal. And doesn't that make sense? That guy actually knew how to get there and do it. So he's actually going to know the moves you need to make in order to succeed yourself. And that's why I wrote the Super Secrets. That was all for free. 850,000 views now inside of the Writers of Future Forum on that. And people that studied it started winning, started selling, have careers now. And big people too that I can't say their names, but they actually wrote to me and are now my friends that have said, this is amazing. This is going to help the industry so much. So the book that I've just done is a compilation and actually an expansion on all those things, how to write a howling good story. So I did this to help everybody. I did this whole project. I did this free for years, editing everybody's stories, helping these new writers. And as I helped everybody, I figured out, this is what they need. And I found out how to explain it to them in a simpler way so that they would get it. And once they get it, boom, things started happening, great things. And they start winning the contest.
Celine from Kisme, Florida. Kisme, Florida. It's Kisme. Stop it. Stop adding letters to Kisme, Florida. Bullshit, it's Kisme. I've been there. But anyway, what do you got for it? You've had a book out. It's made some money. But how do I know too much money for Writers of the Future? There's actually a thing on the site that'll tell you. I don't know what it is right up in Wulf, Mike, but I don't know.
Yeah, so you can't have been paid more than 8 cents a word and had more than 5,000 copies sold or 5,000 hits. So add up what you made, add up how many words are in that book, and see if it comes to over 8 cents a word that you made off that, however many words it was, or under. Usually it's under. So quite a bit under. So people think they're not qualified because they did an indie book. And then I have to explain to them, well, go read those rules again. And when you look at it, it's like, it takes a lot to make 5,000 sales. Okay. A lot. So,
okay,
and
Celine, she's saying a book made $1.2 million. I want to see it. Send it to me.
Yeah. Then you're out. You're a professional writer. If you made $1.2 million, you're done. You don't need an amateur contest to help your career. Well done.
So much bullshit sometimes. I don't believe you. Send me a picture of you. Show me your book. Show me where I can see it. Hey, look, it might be good. I might get it. I like. Well, I don't get. Actually, I'm lying. I prefer audio. I don't have free time like I used to. And if I get into a book, I just forget what the hell I'm doing. So I can actually turn on an audio book, enjoy the book, and also be working on my computer. But if I'm reading, if I got it tactile, I'm out of it. I'm off in the fairyland with the book. I know you should read it. You really should. But when you have a life like mine, I do a lot of driving, so it's easy for me to pop it on the radio and listen. Mm-hmm. Well, you can, Carolyn, again. So you can. There are places that'll take books and turn them into audio. But I'm going to tell you a secret. Ask to hear the voice first. A lot of them want to use Microsoft Sam and Samantha. That's just garbage. That's all I'm going to say. But there are some companies that'll do it for you. And you get a decent voice. Yeah.
I've done audio. I was podcast director at a professional magazine. If you go to my website, you can see it there, thesupersecrets.com. I'll have an area on my headers called podcasts, and you can listen to some of the work I've done for different magazines.
There you go, guy.
It's free. You can listen to some free stories.
Y'all better start listening to free. Don't start charging y'all for archives. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Y'all evil people. Donnie. I'm sorry. I thought it said Donna. Donnie, where you from? Kansas City. Okay. Up there where the wind comes sweeping through plains. I'm sorry. That was bad. What's your question, man? Y'all just need to come in there. Y'all should just go to the YouTube chat. And then Wulf can read it. I mean, you're writing a book down here. Yeah, come on. Just come in and chat. You can go to God's ET and Extraterrestrial. No. It's UFO Guides and Extraterrestrial. Or UFO Paranormal Radio. You go to either one. Yes. Or just pop on any of my Facebook pages with my name on. Yes. And we can see it. Yes, it's easy. I'm just saying it's easy. Anyway. Right. Which condense that. That would take me half the show.
Kill your darlings.
That's right.
See, there you KYD.
You should never say that someone will be using this in the future. Yeah. I have
a
guest that I'm going to use this on, including myself sometimes. Yeah. What are you trying to say?
Well, he's writing that. I had a friend called, he passed away, but his book is called The 10% Solution, and Ken Rand was his name. And he said any story could benefit by cutting 10% out of it. And then he had different ways you could do that. And then when I started working with aspiring writers, I found out, well, they don't need the 10% solution. They need the 20% solution, the 30% solution, the 50% solution. It was just that much extra. And they didn't know that they didn't need that. And so once we started showing them that that's just too much, trust your reader that they get it. You don't have to explain how every part of the spaceship works and what every button on the console does. You only need the one that says eject if they're trying to get out of the...
I got a question. Just a personal question. Where is a good cutoff right now? How many words, give or take,
Okay. So today, Dave Chesson did a study, and he's the Kindlepreneur. He's on the front of my book, if you see that. But he's pretty famous with understanding Kindle and how it works. Well, they did a study of all the top sellers across, all the fiction field. And those novels that were all in the top, like top 10, hitting all the tops in all those categories, they're all around 95,000 words. So those were the ones that did well. Now, you can have a novel, technically 40,000 words is a novel. That's a really wimpy, if you're really in middle grade storytelling, you could probably get away with that. But adults, they want some more meat, start, the 50,000 to 95,000, 50 is pretty small. And like I just said, the ones that are selling are hitting up in that 95,000 range. So, 100,000 words, 90,000 words.
Well, the reason I asked,
and I'll let you finish up. The reason I asked is year before last, I must have been challenging Elrond. Because in the middle of the night, I wrote 12,000 words. Currently it's sitting at 36,500 words. I'm not even nowhere close to being finished with this thing. So I'm thinking it's going to be 125,000. Now, is it going to be good? Is it going to be jibber jabber? So you know what I said, right? I told Emily, I'm going to print it all out. Put it in a vanilla envelope and send it to her. It's like she's been bugging me, so I'm going to give it to her. So here, Emily, you want to read this?
Well, and then what you do is you hire a good editor, and the editor will go through it and line by line and tell you what you need to cut. So that way, when you put it out there, it will already be in the best state it can possibly be. So that costs when you get that kind of line by line editing, but it's worth it if you want to see what you're working on, what you need to do. So, and to get to get it as tight as you can possibly be, because if it's a big hot mess, people are going to go, I don't know if I want to buy the next. So that's why you want it tight. You want it to be a compact, good story. So that's probably the biggest problem we have right now with indie publishing. It's made a wonderful opportunity for people, but it's also a way to slap a pretty cover on, not learn one's craft, and just send out whatever we write thinking, well, we wrote it, therefore people should buy it. And some do. That pretty cover gets them. And then you read it and you go, oh my goodness, this person needs to learn how to write.
Someone think about that.
So
I talk about this a lot with the illustrators. I said, you'd be surprised how many books I bought because the cover was like, wow. And then I got the book home. And I was like, really? It ended up in my fire pit. I wouldn't even keep it leaving in my house. I just tossed it. But this 34,000 on that. I figure I'll probably do some writing later this year. Maybe we have 40, 45 by Christmas, but I don't, y'all help me because listening to the courses, you don't understand people. They have these great courses. You can't know about them because you're not there, but you got top judges and other people just helping out. And I had lots of problems because I tried to write a book. I actually had a couple people offer to pay me to write a book. Because of some of the stuff I'm involved in. And I can write you a Technic Man all night long, bore the hell out of you. But because of Young, I actually learned what filler was. But I'm probably guilty of what you were saying a little while ago. It's probably too much filler. Anyway.
Well, those people that you're learning from at Writers of the Future, you have to remember this, and this is going to shock your listeners. They spend over $30,000 on each winner. It's not just the prize money that you get.
Nope.
It's not just the publication money, which is pro-rate in a best-selling anthology, but they fly everybody in. They pay for your hotel. They fly all of these judges in who are just donating their time, and they fly them in and pay for their hotel, their meals. And the kind of people you're having teach you, Nancy Kress, Tim Powers, who I feel is one of the greatest writers of our time, certainly in fantasy.
Coca-Cola drink I ever met.
Yeah, he just drinks it constantly. It's like permanently fused to his hand. Kevin J. Anderson, who's actually a consultant on the Dune movies that some of you probably have watched, the new ones coming out. Kevin J. Anderson, one of the top paid writers in the country. Brandon Sanderson, anybody heard of him? He's one of the judges in the contest. When they're very fortunate, they get him to come out. So these are the people you get to learn from. So why wouldn't your career take off if you had the very best in the industry telling you what you need to do next to build a career? So it's worth winning the contest just for that workshop where they teach you. They don't teach you about writing there. They figure you already know it. They teach you about career and what you need to do next to build your career. And that's why so many winners of Writers of the Future have gone on to have best-selling careers. Patrick Rothfuss, Brandon Sanderson, David Farland. These were all Dean Wesley Smith. He was the first guy to walk across the stage in the very first Volume 1 winner. And he's got a mega career as an indie author. So he was my mentor when I lived in Eugene, Oregon for 10 years. Yeah. And just the contest puts you in with the right people and shows you what you need to do. And if you use that to fill your sails, you can have a very fast launch to your career instead of stumbling about in the dark trying to figure it out. So it's worth winning. But don't just submit to the contest. That's what I found a lot of my writers when I first started teaching the workshop in the form we're doing. And it's like, well, that's good, but they're scared to send it anywhere else. And it's like, well, you're putting all of your eggs in one basket. It can take a while. It took me a while. So don't forget to send your stories elsewhere. Send them first to Writers of the Future, because you'll never get a prize that will be bigger, and you'll never be treated like a celebrity. It's like winning the Oscars, okay? It seriously is. And then send them out to other professional markets. And, whatever way it takes to make those sales, you're going to build a career by doing that. And if you're writing fresh stories every year, you get 4 new fresh stories you can send to other markets. So in 2 years, you got 8 stories. In 3 years, you got 12 stories. In 4 years, you got 16 stories, you see? And you're sending these all out. You're building things up a little bit at a time. Baby steps going up the mountain.
Kareem. I'm sorry. Where are you from?
I said London.
What time is it?
It's like 7 a.m.
Good morning.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. 5 a.m. Jesus, what are you doing up?
Or maybe 4 a.m.
Yeah,
6 hours.
6 hours.
I know we have a big audience in England, but we got hours. The other show
I do
ends at
2 over there. So it's like doing coast to coast.
But anyway, yeah, you can submit as many times a year. But the other question. What now? What you did with it? You edited it? Well, never mind. I think y'all scared of me. And Wulf, you gotta watch Wulf. Anyway, no, when you do it. When you do like that, short it down, just text me. Yeah, because you're in my box. So you can just text me in the box. Yeah, it'll pop up on my phone. I'll come back and look for it. I don't know. You could. I agree with Wulf. I would submit to Writers first, and then go from there. I would go from there. Read. What you got? No, because what's name didn't answer me. Yeah, don't get it up. What you got? Okay, so Reed is Manhattan. Nice to meet you up there, Manhattan. So Reed wants to know. He said he's been getting stuck. So he's writing, and then he's like he goes and make a corner, and then there's nothing there. But somehow or another he can move past that corner. So he's like leaves a gap in his story every so often. He said, "How should you deal with that?"
Well, that's okay. Sometimes I'll see other sections of a story and I'll go write those because they're fresh in my mind. I see them really well and I'll write them. And then I'll go back up and it actually helps me make sure that everything's heading towards that point. So there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is you can't just keep going forward to that point. You've got this big hole that you have to go fill, and that could throw everything off. So you do have to go back and write that section that connects the two. And these are scenes. So you can, each scene needs to lead to the next scene. Each end of a scene is like a cliffhanger. If you remember the shadow knows, who knows what evil lurks in the dark? The shadow knows, and you always end on a cliffhanger. Those radio shows knew it, and they kept you coming back for the next episode. Well, you leave a cliffhanger that can only be answered by the next scene. And so the reader will then go, I have to stay up and read that too. That's what a page turner is all about. So if you get stuck, it means you can't see how to get to the next spot, but you see the next spot, go ahead and write that. So now you see where you have to head to, go back and reread that scene, and then make a connection between the two scenes. So that's what you do. And a lot of times I'll see my ending. Sometimes I'll write my ending first, and then I go back. So usually I just see it, and that's my cheese at the end of the maze, is that I see the ending, but I don't get to write it until I've written all the stuff that gets me there. And then I get the cheese, which is that wonderful ending. That's the beautiful thing. So yeah, what's happening for you is problem solving. You can't see how to get to that next point, but you see the next point, so you jump up to it. But don't forget to go back and make the causal link, it's called, the link between one thing to the other, that makes both harmonious.
Well, I would think it would make it easier if you had something ahead of it to write back from. I mean, I'm not any author, so don't take my advice.
Yeah, well, as long as you go back and fill it in, you don't have a complete story if it doesn't all link up. So just make sure all the pieces link. And like I said, what you do is you do a cliffhanger, and then there's a scene that you have to fill in. So cliffhanger, answer, another cliffhanger on the end of that one, answer in the next scene, and you just progress to the end of your story. So,
what was that, Darryl? Podcast. We don't need put Wulf on a podcast. Oh my God, that people would drive him crazy. I'm sure he gets enough crazy. Oh no, he's got a great voice for radio. He's got a great voice for radio. But people would drive him crazy. I'm just saying. You got to get used to it before you do it. Look, when I first got radio, and people started asking for autographs and shit, I was like, what? Well, you want what? Why do you want that? They're like, but please. Like, no. I said, and I still 40 years later, it's still so funny. Yeah, just recently something that I was on. I was in the mall. Guy came up, his wife came, "Can I get your autograph?" I'm like, I said, where do you know me from? It was a Discovery Channel gig. I was like, okay. I just don't like they never tell you when they drop stuff. Yeah, people bug you.
Joe, can I make one announcement?
Announce away, baby.
We're on the first hour, and I don't want people to leave. I want them to stay. So I had to go to, this has been a top secret project that I got invited in, and big top secret project. Nobody knows about it, but I talked to the editor today. He went to the publisher, and they gave me permission to announce. So I'm going to let you guys know about this. You're the only people. I can't, even after this is over, I can't share it on Facebook or other places yet because they want me to keep it secret. So, but he said, on this program, since you, Joe, have so many people listening in, they felt it would be wise to let people know about this project that we're working on. So you get the scoop. The scoop is I'm going to be in an anthology called, let's see if I can get it up there, Wink. It's a YA fantasy sci-fi anthology. The editor is Henry Hertz. There we go. And here are the authors that are going to be in it. These are all New York Times best-selling authors, Stoker Award winners. If you don't know what the Stoker Awards are, it's the Horror Writers Association Award, like the Nebulas for Sephwa, like the Hugos for Worldcon, and World Fantasy winners are in this. So Kendare Blake, Leah Cypress, Stacy Deutsch, David Gerald, Nancy Holder, can't see her name there, sorry, I'm trying to read, Athea Contis, Jonathan Mayberry, who's a great guy. He writes the Joe Ledger books. Awesome, man. Love him. Got to have dinner and lunch with him at Superstars in Colorado Springs. And best-selling author. And then Shauna McGuire, and Maggie Stiefvater. So Maggie Stiefvater. So this is all coming out through BridgetGatePress.com, and it'll be out the first part of next year. And Bridget's Gate does paranormal, they do romance, they do poetry, they do dark fantasy, horror. So they've only been around since 2021. I already have 33 titles out. I know they are the kind of stories your readers like to read, so I wanted to bring that out. And my story that will be in that's called Precious Treasure. And what Wink is all about, ta-da, it's winking at famous children's stories you know. So I got this call from the editor, and he said, so I'm doing this. I'd like to bring you in on it. And he said, we already have Winnie the Pooh one. We already have, these other ones that everybody knows. And you got to wink at it without actually writing in that world. It has to be original, but, Easter eggs. And I said, has anybody done The Hobbit? And he said, no, nobody has. It's yours. So I did a non-Hobbit story, but very much I did a frog-like creature that has big feet. And I did, as we know, when Bilbo actually, after Smaug is killed and heads back home, there's this whole span of time that Tolkien didn't really talk about. And so I placed my story on the return home. And you'll have to read this story to find out about it. But it was really fun because it's not The Hobbit, but I wink at it throughout the story. And that's the fun thing about these stories. There are all these winks to all these children's stories that you've known that are in your heart. Well, all these famous writers, award-winning writers, are actually winking at all of your favorite tales, but giving you a different world. So it's going to be so much fun. I was so glad to be invited to that. So anyway, you got the scoop. You guys know about it.
When I get it out, we'll bring it back. Oh, yeah.
Sarah Connor's from
Sarasota.
Oh, you're
Are you
like
the real Sarah Connor?
I bet you
get that a lot.
I'm sorry. I'm just in a mood
tonight. I can't help it.
Anyway,
what was your question, baby?
What do you mean? That doesn't make sense. Restructure. No, it's part of it's missing. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. Who's next? Donna Lemon. Y'all just making shit up tonight. Anyway, where you from, Donna Lemon? I believe you. Kentucky. What part of Kentucky? Nashville. You from Nashville? I've been to Nashville a few times. So she got a couple of I guess you'd call them novelettes written. And she says that she's had a little tiny bit of success. She said she did win some award down in Florida. But she just can't see that next level. Just to get your sales up. She's actually asking about Kickstarter too.
Okay. So Kickstarter, I can talk about that too. Actually, my book that I did here was actually funded on Kickstarter, and my very first Kickstarter did $21,316 and had 310 backers. So, and then David, he did Death and the Taxman. Why is his name slipping me now? Sorry, I've had COVID and I had long COVID. So it actually has knocked out names out of my head.
I hate that.
Oh, it's been horrible. So I finished it.
He was just on just recently.
Hankins, thank you. See, that's what's happened. It's like I can't even remember my cat's name and my favorite cat. I can't. It's like what? So anyway, so David Hankins, he did a Kickstarter, and his right now is running. It's called Death and the Taxman. If you check on it, and he's at like $8,000 for his first Kickstarter. So he's also a winner in Writers of the Future, Volume 39. Kickstarter is a great way to fund your novel, to produce it, so that you don't have to come up with money for the cover and the copy editing and all that stuff out of your own pocket. And you also pre-sell it to a bunch of people that like your work. So, but again, like I said, you got to be able to write a good story, or they're going to feel cheated if they spend that money on you and they get something that is below par. So this is why you need to learn your craft first.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Don't you have to put an amount and make that amount before you can get it? Somebody told me that, but I don't remember.
Yeah, so you set a funding goal. So you usually set your goal to a level that it's going to cost you to buy all the pieces to make your book. So that tends to be around $2,000 by the time you buy a cover, by the time you hire a copy editor to go over it. No matter how good you write, you still need to have somebody check because there's going to be something screwed up in it. There, and there. It can be spelled 3 different ways, and all of them are right, and they can all be wrong. So it helps you pay for the pieces, but you only get the money if you hit that level. So that's why people set it. Some set it at 500 to their funding goal, but then they hit that right away, and it's kind of like, well, then is it over? So set it to what you need. Set it to exactly what you need. And then you've got like 30 days or more to get your funds. Don't set it beyond 30 days. And make sure you have a following before you go in, because you won't hit their algorithms thresholds without coming in with people that are helping it rise up right away. So that's a big secret. So again, in my Wolfpack Writers group, we support one another. So when we see one of our authors doing something, going out there and taking that leap of faith, well, we make sure they succeed at that leap. So, but like David, first he had to prove himself, and he won Writers of the Future, and he's had like 8 different pro sales in the last year. So he's definitely moving forward. Interesting thing about David, he had no sales when he started in my workshop, 0. And the very first workshop of mine that he took was Kill Your Darlings. He wrote a story in that as an exercise that I do in that workshop. And I knew immediately that it was going to sell. And sure enough, that was his first sale to Dreamforge magazine. And after that, everything started selling because he figured it out. But remember what I said about killing your darlings, that you gotta learn how to do that. And so I teach a workshop on that to help people. And you can get the recording on it too. So that would be, there's usually a reason your work isn't selling. There always is. And once you figure that out, and try to figure it out by getting some honest feedback, not your best friends that are trying to fluff you up, but getting a real pro looking at it, you can find out what's happening that's holding it back. So I'd really recommend doing that. That's what I do. That's why I'm a writing coach, helping people. And it can make a huge difference. Instead of throwing mud against the wall, you can actually fire at the target and hit it.
Don't be like the rusty monkey slinging shit. Get your act together.
No baboons here.
Yes. Harold, what's that? Actually, the only way I can describe that is, when I first got on the radio, how can I say this? I hate to say this out loud. I was kind of asshole. And I was tough. And I still am sometimes. But what bothers me about this is I've kind of mellowed in the last 7 or 8 years. My writer's actually writing to me and telling me, my listeners write to me and tell me, we want the old Joe back. They don't like the nice food, Joe. They don't. No, they don't. I don't know what it is, man. Like they want me to grab somebody and throw them around the screen. People yelling violence. What's that, Hal? You gotta go. Okay. No, we're going to put up his website because we're giving away that one. The secrets of illustrators later on. Probably about a half hour left. Well, we still got almost another hour left. What's? No, we're going to give it away. We'll probably give it away till we'll probably number a caller, but we'll get there in a little while. So what was your question? Okay, so he's just asking. Should every time he doesn't win at Writers' Future, should he write a new story?
Yes. So this is what I recommend. Send your story first to Writers of the Future, because no one will ever give you such a great reward again. It will be a very, very long time, unless you write a novel and you're like Brandon Sanderson. But normally for short stories, that's the pinnacle. You won't ever have something done so special for you again on a short story. So try to win that. and then you've sent it to the very best possible market you can, and then send it off to other markets afterwards, and then write your next and send that in. And what a lot of writers are doing, and this is how I've watched people win, and myself included, is you will watch your certificates go from sorry you didn't win to honorable mention, congratulations, and you get a really beautiful certificate, by the way. And then you'll go up to silver honorable mention as you get more improved in your skills. That means you're in that top, maybe 80 stories that they were sitting culling through, trying to figure out which ones were the finalists. And so you're up another level. And then you get to semifinalists. It means you were almost there. And then get into those 8 finalists, you could be the winner. So that's how you chart your progress. It's a great way to chart your progress. It's not foolproof. A lot of people have taken their honorable mentions and they've gotten them in very big publications afterwards. So, I mean, every editor has different tastes, but at least you're starting with one of the best. And the other important thing is that it's restricted. So you're not competing like at the other big professional magazines. You're not competing against all the pros. You're not competing against the big names. I mean, in some of those other magazines, you're competing against Tim Powers, one of the greatest writers of our time. So Kevin J. Anderson might be writing a story for him. So when you're with Writers of the Future, it's restricted to amateur status. So you can have some pro sales, but you can't have, well, it says no more than 3, which means your 4th publication will get you disqualified. But up till then, you have your shot there, and then take those stories and send them out elsewhere.
Yeah,
somebody else had asked questions. You just answered it. It's good.
Well, no, submit. You can submit. So real quick. I've interviewed 50 writers and 50 illustrators now. For the illustrators, they seem to win much earlier. But the writers, it seems to take 14 to 16 tries. Not that some don't win longer. And some take. There've been a few that took 40, 42, 46 times to get in. But there's been a few that's got it at first, which is kind of rare. But usually anywhere from about 10 up is what it takes. I guess it's how much advice that you take from them to get your ass in there fast. Well, the reason I know that is because I've been interviewing them all, and one of the questions in the interview is how many times will it take you to win?
And why the illustrators, they have a shorter curve. Many of those illustrators come out of art schools, so they've already had professional training. They just haven't started their careers yet, so they're still amateurs. Yeah. But they were trained by pros at art schools and learned technical craft so that they could actually submit something that was of a professional level look to the Illustrators of the Future contest. So writers usually are getting trained by creative writing courses at colleges, and if they're like the courses I took at college, I had more credits at 15 than these instructors had. And I'm sorry, I'm sure there are some that are published, but there are many that aren't published. And so how they teach is they go back to the old masters and they tell you, let's go read these stories by O. Henry, and now that's how you write today. And it's like, no, that was for that time period. We need to write stories for the markets today if you want to get published. And people, unfortunately, at the colleges, they don't understand that. So you're studying old masters because they know that's safe.
That's because a lot of the teachers are ancient.
So, yeah.
I mean, people forget. I'm old. But I like new things. I change as much as I can. I tell this to a lot of my old friends because they're like, I said, y'all stuck from 30 up. What the hell's wrong with you? You gotta grow. Society changes. It's like radio. When I started doing radio, I did it one way. Now I do it a different way. You gotta grow, people. You got to.
And you have to know what's currently selling, because if you want to write like Tolkien today, worked great in his time period, and we all love him now, and we see past maybe some of the extra exposition that you don't need today, but we love him so much that we read all of that. But today, that's going to be hard unless you're Brandon Sanderson, you made it somewhere and can just go ahead and do whatever you want. So really, you have to learn what's selling right now, and then still keep your style, but recognize what limits you have to kind of, there's a pasture that you have to kind of be in, and you can break out of that and do something crazy, but it's still got to be a story, it's still got to work. So anyway, it's probably controversial what I'm talking about, but I had a great teacher in high school who taught science fiction. So he had a book called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. And then he saw my potential, and he went to the principal and said, I want a class just for Wolf Moon. And this is just going to be his class. And he comes in every day and he writes. And he actually got that for me from the principal. So maybe he did it because he was always correcting his papers during that hour. But I got to write. And then he would edit my stories. And then we would look for markets to send them out to. And I won Scholastic Art and Writing Awards because that teacher took the time to find markets for me to sell to. I won at the national level. And that's like winning Writers of the Future as a high school kid. So it's the same kind of thing. If you got any kids that are writing in the U.S., it's just for the U.S., but Scholastic, the same company that does all the Scholastic books, including the Harry Potter books, their company has a contest for young people, and it's like winning Rise of the Future. Stephen King won it, Peter S. Beagle won it, John Updike won it, so many different people. So send people there if you know young people. All right, so I probably went off the path.
That's a good thing. We got Clint Morrison.
He's currently
on the Isle of Skye. What are you just
broke in over there?
Awesome! What whiskey is his favorite whiskey?
What is it?
I've been to Skye.
It's beautiful.
Talisker.
So what do you have for us?
So he said he's written a couple of books
over the years.
Not that they were horrible. They got a little bit notoriety
in some towns not far from where he lives.
He said they made a little money. He said he probably made for the last 5 years making about 10 grand a year off of. But he said no matter what he does, and he said he's won several contests in Europe. He just can't seem to move up to the next level where he's making 30 or 40,000 a year. I suggest
write more than one book a year.
Well, that's what the indie people are doing. So he's on Skye. I would recommend that you go to a conference, which I'll be at again this year. It's in Las Vegas. It's called 20 Books to 50K. And
there you go.
That conference, it's actually a seminar with lots of people that are making well over $1 million a year on their indie writing that they're doing. But they can show you what you need to do to get to that next level. And again, it's hanging out with somebody that's above your level, and they can show you what the next step is. And when you figure that out, that's how you make the next step. So getting that mentoring is so important.
You win.
And they're all there.
Writers of the Future.
You get to meet all the judges. I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to catch up.
Yeah, he can't enter Rise of the Future because he's had some pretty good sales now. But at 20 Books to 50K, all those people are there. You can actually, I think you can sign up and watch it virtually. So that would be a way to do it too. So you wouldn't have to spend all the money to go to Vegas since you're on Skye and you have to take a ferry over to the mainland and then fly out. So that would be my recommendation to you, 20 Books to 50K. And you can, I'm pretty sure, because I know they record everything, that you can do a virtual attendance.
Probably can.
Almost always doesn't.
He said he also wanted to know, should he stick more to writing about stuff he knows, like villages, or should he try to break into something? He said he doesn't write sci-fi because every time he tries, it just comes out like jibber jabber.
Yeah, well, that's not your thing then. So write what you love.
We've been writing about like local villages, and I guess how did you say it? The daily life of the individuals individual.
Okay.
I guess there's like some drama, some love. Is that what we're talking about? Hey, that's interesting.
Well, Diana Gabaldon, romance writer, she wrote her breakout novel called Outlander. It was all about your country.
Oh yeah.
I remember that.
All she did was have a woman walk through some standing stones and go back to that time that had modern knowledge, and then what could she do with that knowledge in their time period? And suddenly all those little villages it made a very fascinating story and also an excellent series.
Yeah, the series is
television.
Netflix, huh?
Not Netflix. Stars. It's on Stars.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
It's
So, but there you go. So she took Your Country, took the Bonnie Prince Charlie era, and Battle of Culloden, and made just an awesome romance story out of that with some time travel in it, but really not much. And suddenly she's a best-selling author. So, and with a TV series and huge following. So just kind of think, well, I like writing these. How can you twist it so it's more interesting? So more people would gain a wider audience than maybe just your local village or people just in your country. So, and that's what makes bestsellers.
We had some good people come out of the UK. Big stories come out in the last couple of decades.
Yeah.
What's her name? Not. Oh hell, now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh no, I was thinking of Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. No, it's not Lord of the Rings.
Harry Potter.
Yeah. Harry Potter, a huge franchise.
Yes.
Now it's a monstrous franchise.
Yep. Actually, guys, I read Lord of the Rings. There was three books on the Hobbit, and it was three books of Lord of the Rings. Unfortunately, I read them backwards. I wish I would have read them the other way. But I was in tech school in the Navy, and I was stressing over shit. A friend of mine said, "Read this." So I got it. I was like, wow, I just got lost in the book.
Yeah.
And I read all three of them pretty quickly too. And he said, "Well, you still got this much tech school left. Read these three." They called me down. I got to say, I enjoyed the story. And I think they did a fairly decent job in the movies. They stuck to the book. Mostly.
Yeah. I still remember in high school reading where the ring race on those horses coming up to Sam and Frodo.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, and that was so scary where they're right above them. And they did a really cool scene of that in the movie where the bugs are all crawling out and stuff, and the blood's on the hooves of the horses. And it was really freaky that was one of the first times where I was truly transported by an author into their vision space, and I could feel the emotion, the fear that they all had huddled at the roots of that tree. And they capture that so well in the movie, that feeling that I had on the screen. It was just excellent.
They did a good job. I was happy. It's one of the few movies made from a book I didn't bitch about. I'm sorry, people. A lot of movies or just what they do is the producers go, wow, this book's pretty good, but you know what, let's add this. Let's throw some aliens in there. Come on, people.
Well, that's part of the system. You only get paid if you modify the manuscript. So every writer that they hand it off to has to make a major change in order to get a credit. So the system actually defeats the original author, because every one of those screenwriters, if they don't twist it and do something different than the original did, they don't get a credit. And so it actually totally mangles up the story because of that, because it's everybody else's vision for where they want it to go. And they have to do it if they want that credit.
Let's see who's up next. We have Stephanie Rice. Where are you from? Savannah, Georgia. Oh wait, you're in Berlin. Oh, you're on vacation in Berlin. Hey, you and your husband. Well, that's cool. Yeah. I hope you're having fun. I know it's the early morning over there right now. So anyway, I hope you have a good morning. Have a good breakfast and all of that. So what you got for us? We talked about the Kickstarter earlier. Yeah, but you can go back and listen to the conversation. You go back. What else you got? What else you got? Oh, okay. So she's just asking about reading. She wants to know if you would you want to know if you pick out a good book for you, which you want, right? Yeah, okay. So that's what she's asking. She said she's big into sci-fi and fantasy and other stuff. And she said you could recommend a good book that would just kind of transport her away.
Well, my favorite has always been Dune. So
Dune's good.
Dune is great. Children of Dune, Dune Messiah. Sorry, that's not the right order. Dune Messiah, Children of Dune. Those three are good. Dune is, to me, one of the most masterful stories in science fiction, not because of the SF in it, but because of the massive galaxy building world and tying everything to one planet through spice, and what that drug actually would do for time travel, for spacing travel and warping space and things like that. So I highly recommend Dune. I don't feel like you have been in the field if you haven't read that book, because it actually started the whole green movement that we have today. It was kind of everybody in the 60s grabbed onto that and used that to kind of start the green movement. So that would be my highest recommendation. And Tim Powers, everybody misses him, and he's one of he's a fantasy writer, but he is one of the greatest writers of our times. And people don't really know it. He's kind of off the radar a lot of times, but people that read him do know. So a fun one is Anubis Gates. I think that's set in Edwardian times. So that's really a fun little history piece to go back in London and have Egypt mixed in with that time period. Another one, On Stranger Tides. It's a very literary pirate story. You may have heard of Pirates of the Caribbean. You may have heard that they made a movie called On Stranger Tides. That's because they finally had to pay Tim Powers for his idea. So there's some writers that I really, really love that I would recommend.
Tim's a lot of fun to talk with.
He's awesome. Yeah. So, but there's a couple of really great books, and On Stranger Tides is very different from the movie that Disney made. You have to read it. It's very literary, and it's just so fun. So there's a few. I'd have to look at my shelves to give you. Oh, well, let's see. Yeah, I can't see without my other glasses, so I'll leave it at that. There's a couple of epics that I think you should read.
And there's a lot of good books out there, dude. Fortunately, I've seen the movie before I read the book. And it's don't get me wrong. I love the movie. I'm not hating on it. It is a little bit different than the book. Just to be honest with y'all, there's a few things they. How can I say this? They just do a few things different, and that's all I can say. But read it, find out what I'm talking about. Which one of the dudes is my favorite? Unfortunately, I'm a retro guy. When I see part two of the new one, I might change my mind. But the fact that Patrick Stewart's in the first one, what do you mean? You didn't know he was there? You know the guy who's going to wander like an ass into the desert?
Patrick Stewart's in it.
There's a lot of actors in it. The only weird one was I've never seen the guy who played Mordeep again. I've seen all the other actors in different movies and stuff. But maybe because
did you see the Sci-Fi Channel's version of Dune?
I don't know which one was. I've seen a couple of versions of Dune. Some I have not been real happy with.
Yeah, the Sci-Fi Channel did a really good trilogy on it. So that's worth seeing. You can buy or rent those. Yeah, it's actually really good and followed the story pretty well, I thought. So
I'll have to check it out there.
Yeah, no, and it was done by the Sci-Fi Channel and well done.
The new one, guys. It's coming out next year, right?
I know it's coming out. I don't know when. Sorry. Yeah. I was there.
I'm not sure, guys.
We got a premiere showing of it at Writers of the Future because Kevin J. Anderson was there. You were probably there for that.
Yeah.
And we had it actually inside of the hotel there at the Roosevelt Hotel. That was so awesome.
Shows you what kind of ass I am. So John introduces one of the guys that's working on Dune, right? One of the big wigs. And John's on the guy. Let me tell you this one time. Don't get up. Because now I know who you are. He's like, what? I said, I don't like your school, my dudes. I said, when I seen him again, I seen him at one of the cons. And I told him I really enjoyed the first half. Because I didn't get to talk to him after preview. Now, to be honest with you, this is where it gets interesting. The part two is where personally I always start doing a trilogy anyway. But At least this one's two parts. So they can play around.
And this young actor, he's pretty decent.
There's one other book I thought I'd recommend, and let's see, it's Cyberpunk and Altered Carbon. Altered Carbon was very different and kind of really stood out. And of course, they made a series out of that too. I think that one is on Netflix. Yeah. So
that was it. Now
that was a very unique idea, and that's often what it takes to break out. Having that unique idea of the way that memories were transferred and how life was extended was very unique.
Well, what's interesting about that is 2001, two people had come out with the United States governments that they were working on a way to transfer consciousness to a disc or something. So it happened to a guy in 95 or 97 had a microchip put in his brain to see if it would record memories. They left it in effort. They took it out and recorded all the memories it'd seen for the year. So it showed us that we can actually record what's in the brain. So what they're trying to figure out is how they can take their consciousness and keep it alive and upload it into a new body. And so we'll see how that goes. But it is technology we're working on. And we also got that new thing that stops the aging gene. They've been trying 7 different animals now. That scares me, Wolf. I mean, I'm 60 anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But I mean, we got 8 billion people on the planet now. I mean, we started stopping aging. I don't know. There'd be 16 billion in a matter of no time.
Yeah. Well, that was some of the premises they were dealing with I forget the author's name, but in Altered Carbon, he was dealing with those very things. So
I enjoyed the series. I really did. I like the fact that the same guy, so the lead guy in this, three different characters, three different bodies. It's the same individual, but you see him in three different bodies. He plays a white guy one, a black guy another. Matter of fact, the black guy who played Captain America, who plays the part, and the Chinese guy, he might have been Korean, but. They're all pretty decent. The only thing I gotta warn you, don't watch it with your kids. It's not because it's horrible. It's just how can I say? There's a lot of nakedness. A lot of frontal nakedness. I was surprised. And I have a rule. Usually if I see their ass the first 10 minutes, I don't watch it. So both in the Expanse and in Altered Carbon, there's a lot of sex in the first 10 minutes. But both series turned out to be decent.
I was talking about the books. Of course, she was asking what book. So
I just people might jump on it. That's a cheat. Yeah, it's a cheat. Read the book. Then watch the series. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So there's some ideas.
Pharaoh's up there. Yeah, you can submit 4 times a year. Yeah. I would submit 4 times a year. We've been talking about after show. Submit. And I'm gonna say this. John's heard me say this a million times. If you don't submit, you can't win. It should just don't pop out the sky.
I'm going to read you guys a quote from Zig Ziglar. I used to be in sales, so I'd listen to Zig Ziglar tapes quite a bit. And here's a good one. He said, "You were born to win, but in order to become a winner, you must plan to win and prepare to win. Then you can legitimately expect to win." So put your plan together and execute. So that's the problem. Everyone says, "I want to be a writer," but they don't write. So you won't be a writer if you don't write. Sorry, you got to write. Well, so they go into groups and coffee clutches and they all talk about, "I want to be a writer." And it's like, well, get out of the coffee clutch, get with a group of people who are actually writing and start writing together and send those stories out. So, and I'll tell you one other story. Can I, Joe?
Yeah, we got plenty of time.
All right. So one of the people in my group, she was a beautiful writer, but she had to work on some things. And so I worked with her. I actually told her, because I have this workshop I told you about, Kill Your Darlings workshop, KYD. I said, I want you to do 5 KYDs in 1 month, and it will transform your writing, because this is what you need. She had the bloated writing that had to cut a whole bunch out. So she did this intent, and it's very hard to do these. So that she did 5, she actually did what I told her. And then I found out she was only submitting her stories to Writers of the Future and nowhere else. Well, it's great if you win Writers of the Future, but it's not the only pony show out there. So enter that because they have the best ponies. So you want to get that if you can, but there are other places too. So she wasn't sending anywhere else because Writers of the Future is blind judging, like I said. So nobody knew when she made a mistake, and that gave her comfort and made her feel secure. And I said, look, he said, you got to start sending your stories out elsewhere. And then I checked around. This was a free workshop that I did. This was actually before Writers Future had their workshop. So this is why I had started it there. So I was doing this free workshop. I said, look, I said, you've got to send your stories not only here, but after you're done here, send it out into the regular marketplace. That's what writers do, not just one place. You got to build your career. And so I talked her into sending her story. I found out a whole bunch of others in the group were doing the exact same thing. I said, I made a requirement the next year, you have to send one story into Writers of the Future in a quarter and another one out to any other market in the same quarter. So I started writing 2 stories every quarter. She won't mind if I say her name. Her name is Brittany. And Brittany sent that story out to Deep Magic magazine. And she'd never had anything published before. Boom, it sold first time out. So it was off of a KYD that I had her write. And not only did it get into Deep Magic, but it got into Best of Deep Magic. And there were people in there like Terry Brooks that didn't get into Best of Deep Magic. Not that he's not a great writer, but he didn't make the cut from all the other choices that they made. So her first story not only was published, it was published in the Professional Deep Magic magazine. That was Best of Deep Magic. And then every year, all of the stories get reviewed in the professional publications by Tanja Online, most of them. And if you're really good, you get listed in the year-end list. And this is how they kind of filter out everything out in the field and say, these are the ones pay attention to because they could be award winners. And she got a star in the Tanja Online year-end list. Here was somebody who was not sending her stories out anywhere. And when I finally talked her into doing it, the very first one she sent out achieved all of these things. Now, fortunately, since I was a mentor, I achieved those things too with her. So that felt nice.
Yeah, nice.
So, but she was not doing anything more. And it's like, we restrict ourselves because we feel safe, but everything worth achieving is on the other side of fear. And we actually have to get past that fear and say, I know this is what everybody else is doing to get published. I need to do it too. Somehow you have to find that. And she couldn't find it, so I made her find it. I challenged her, and sometimes that's what you need. Somebody to give you a little kick in the pants to say, hey, this is what you got to do. And when she did it, she not only did that, then she was a published finalist in Writers of the Future, Brittany Rainston, and then she was actually a winner. So she actually got to go to the gala and the workshop week twice, which is really rare. Very few people have done that. So if you're not sending your stories out, you will never know how good you are. And like Joe said, you can't win if you aren't in. The only way you can win is if you send a story in. But send it to Writers of the Future and then send it out to other markets. So respectable markets, I call them, markets that will actually help you make your career.
Monica,
they do a
fancy. They do a real.
I mean, this
is
a
Hollywood.
Ride you
in
the
big white limousine.
Feed you steak and salmon. Everything.
There's a lot of famous people there.
Some are military, some are actors, some are actresses. There's just a lot of people there. And it's a great place to meet people. But you can only go there if you win, or if your family is a winner, or if you work for them. No, I don't do any of the above. It's a different situation.
If you go to writersofthefuture.com, you will see where you can watch galas. So you can watch Volume 39 gala. You'll see how fancy it is. And it really is, especially when the Oscars were in COVID, I actually think Writers of the Future actually exceeded what the look of the Oscars was. It is really special, and they hold it in the Taglian Center inside of Hollywood there, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful venue.
Well, that young producer got some pretty big credits. He was talking about it. He said he feels like he's at the Oscars. He says it's a beautiful place. I mean, I've been there 3 times. I enjoyed it. It's comfortable. No, I tell the judges to sit at my table. Oh, no, that's my table now. I didn't claim the damn table. I didn't sign the same table for the rest of my table.
Yeah, I call it the Oscars of science fiction and fantasy because it really is for our industry. So.
Oh no, they got two big white limousines. They put you in a limousine.
Hummer limos, Hummer stretch limos.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's some pictures of them. I got some pictures of me there. And there's pictures of other people talking. The new site we just put up. Sometime when I get caught up, probably October, late September, I'll be posting a lot of those pictures so you can see. Yeah. And then you'll see stuff from a couple years earlier where I caught people. There's one of Emily Jones. Jimmy Goodwin. She's gonna hurt me.
So
I'm gonna blame it on Wulf.
Oh, I was gonna say, if I'm not gonna tell you how many years I submitted to Writers of the Future, but I have told you what changed everything for me.
Yeah.
But if you go to the writersofthefuture.com and you go to the galas, they have a button you can push, and it's on YouTube too. Go to Writers of the Future Gala Volume 35, okay? And about 1 hour and 6 minutes in is my speech, and you will find out what I did in order to get there, and may that inspire you. So I'm not going to tell you. You just have to go watch it. So
go check it out, people.
Yeah.
And
the lady that handed me my award, so Gregory Benford, Dr. Gregory Benford, science fiction writer and scientist, handed me my award, but also there's always 2 that go up, and the other one that was there, I can't think of her name right now, but she has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She's from The Young and the Restless or something, and just a very famous actress, and here you are getting an award from icons, not only in writing, but also in Hollywood in the acting industry. So
that's a big I love the lady who does Bart Simpson, by the way. She's just tall, man. Just tall people. She looks like she's a fiery little thing there. I've talked to her a few times. I haven't. I was going to invite her to a show, but we were in the middle of 3 conversations. I thought it would be rude to just drop it on her like that.
Nancy Cartwright.
And then we have Jim Mesklin. Is that the guy who does all the voices?
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but he's good.
Yeah, he was hilarious. He was on. I was driving crazy because they kept piling me with. You know, can't even do this. I was like, pause and read like 4 or 5 before I asked him. They did a good job.
He does a great Picard. His Picard is really good.
He did Picard, yeah. Well, y'all go listen. That's 6 or 8 weeks back. Yeah. No, you go check it out. He seems like a nice guy.
Well, so, Joe, you said it.
Okay.
You said at the half we would give away the workbook. We're past that a little bit.
So we got 25 minutes later. So this is what we're going to do, guys. Here's my email. iCard.net. You know what? Hold on a second. Let's fix this. And we'll do this. Create a banner. R-C-A-R, shift that, C-O-I-E-T. Okay. There you go. This is the one we're giving away right here. It's volume 1. That I finally got to read through it. Why don't I see it? Oh, that's why. Okay. So that's the email. We got two things. It's going to be 49th edition, but also you got to tell me what book will win it for Writers of the Future. Now we mentioned that a couple of times today. Yes. There's a lot of good stuff in here. And well, no, we're gonna get one of those. We'll be up there when we get it, and then we'll give it away later. There you go, guys. I like that you illustrated that.
Yeah, that was special. That was a lot of these Here's another beautiful one. So it just makes it a lot more fun reading it, have full color illustrations. And we did the same robot throughout. So Scott and Jane Knoll. Jane Knoll is the artist, and they own Dreamforge magazine, a beautiful magazine. In fact, I'm going to give them a pitch right now.
Plug them out.
You can read Dreamforge magazine online for free, but of course, if you support them, it helps them to pay writers and keep it going. Anyway, they have beautiful illustrations with every single one of their stories. Well, I write a series on writing there called Wolf Moon Super Secrets, and she's done all these beautiful illustrations for me, and I put it all into a book. Even my prompts. I don't know if you can see this, a prompt generator. We've got the little robot with all of the D&D dice going down the page. So you'll actually have writing prompts in here to help spark ideas on stories for you. And then at the end of each one of these, there you go. Each one of these articles, you've got questions to review and a place to write your goals, because when you write down a goal, it becomes real. And when you see it and make a reality of it and pursue it, that's how you actually move forward. But until you actually chart a course, you're probably just going to wander around like a Sunday driver. But if you have a destination and you write it down and you head for it, you're going to get there because you know you're focused. So that's what the book does. The workbook is to help you focus. So, and I'm giving it away to one of you to help you out. If you don't get it, you can get it. I've only got a few left of the second printing. So this will be a special thing to get this, but you can also go to my website and you can get one of the last ones there as well. I haven't done the third printing yet because it cost me about $1,000.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They're beautiful.
Shit,
that went out of my brain.
I don't know, guys. Somebody needs to start triggering drugs or something.
I'm telling you what.
It's I know you posted it, and for some reason it's cruising along. Well, it's posted back, and we'll go back over it. Stephanie K. No, Stephanie J. I'm sorry. Where are you from? We had another Stephanie here just a few minutes ago. Where are you from? Chicago. God, I feel for you. I'm being honest.
I was beat up many times as a kid in Chicago. I know that city well.
So this is interesting. We got her, him, and then we got a gentleman from Mississippi State. They're both asking the same question. It appears to be both of them are teachers. They want to know if you can give them any ideas to help get young college kids or high school kids to get more interested in reading. I guess these are the levels they're teaching it. I'd say start them young. But that's me. What do you think, Wolf?
To get them reading?
Yeah, they say. I know
Mississippi has a bad literacy rate. I give away a lot of books from registered teachers here.
And they're just looking for things that maybe they could use to get people more interested in picking up a book and reading. Or even picking up a pad and reading.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys.
Well, yeah, I know people like Dolly Parton are starting at a young age for young kids just by getting them interested, by giving everyone in her program a free book. They actually get free books. But of course, not everybody has her pocketbook to be able to give away free books. Having libraries stock books that kids like to read, I think, is really important. School libraries have very limited funding, but I mean, that's the only way I could read books was whatever the school library had. I read everything in that library, in my interests, and it was limited because they have a budget and don't have a lot of money. So working with getting that school library stocked with books that kids like to read is a great thing. They do have the reading libraries now online, so that's nice. That can help. Although I still think holding a real book in your hands, I don't know, it's you don't get lazy scrolling. So and a lot of books, I don't know, I think just holding that and seeing that real book still to me has more impact and more impression. It's tactile. So
I think you get a better image of the artwork. Pads. It's just the books got a certain size page. And when you got reading on a pad, it all depends on the size pad you want. I like that artwork better. Sorry, guys. It's just personal.
The honest truth is you're competing against video games that are built to addict kids. The art is beautiful. They hire the best artists. And unfortunately, a lot of them are combat kill games that really get them hooked into it. And now they're all tied together in groups. So that's the problem. You're competing against high action input over reading. And so how do we beat that? It's try to restrict them from playing the games and doing more reading, getting books in front of them. That's the job of the teachers, spotting those kids that you can help and handing them a book that you think they would like and saying, here, have you read this? Try this. Even The Hobbit, try this. It's like you watch the movie. Would you like to see what the writer actually did in the pages? So here it is. So, but even, I don't know, even like Goosebumps and all of those, Joe Ledger, now that's adult, but Jonathan Mayberry wrote some spooky, grab you kind of books that young people picked up on. So he's done really well with it. I don't know the series because I don't read a lot of YA, but Jonathan Mayberry did that, even though he does these high-powered Joe Ledger zombie books. So that's an idea for you too. Something that will still grab them. They like zombie games. Something that can kind of compete with those games is what you got to do, and still have that excitement that'll get them reading and start embedding the words and realizing, hey, there's a whole different world if we can just turn on our imaginations. But it's tough. So.
Quinn wrote in from Queensland, Australia. Said, can he swap you an opal for a book? What are you talking about?
Swap me what? An opal?
I agree. In Australia, they're probably nice. Here they are. Yeah. What book are you talking about?
He's probably talking about how to write a holy good story.
Is that really?
Yeah.
We'll write to him. You got a woman, she might like it over.
Well, you can buy the digital version. It's it's like what, $10 or something. So, but that
get the book.
You can take it with you. Yeah, get the book. It's like $16 or whatever it will be. My publisher will set the price right. Actually, we planned this in the Kickstarter to be a 60,000 word book. It ended up being 100,000 words. That's like, I just had to write what I felt people needed to have the foundation stones to make a story, and then the technical craft to hone that story so that it'll actually sell. So there's 3 sections. The principles of writing that you need to know that make stories work. And then there's the technical craft, which is what the super secrets are all about, so that you can actually kill your darlings and do things like that. There's other tricks too. Heart's Desire is another thing I do, a big thing I teach. And then finally, at the end, there's motivational. So how to start a career. So just the first steps to get you going. So there really isn't anything out there for the aspiring writer. So there's a Writers of the Future workshop, and I'm talking about a book. So there's a niche here that I'm trying to fill, that I found that there's stuff advanced about the craft. There's specialty things about the craft, but there isn't a book that actually takes a beginning writer and helps them to work their way up to selling stories. So that's why I designed this. That's why I created this book.
Yeah, so Shannon Barbie from Malibu. Come on, really? Kimmy, I know y'all like demon stuff sometimes, but come on, Shannon Barbie from Malibu. What do you want to know? I'm just giving you trouble. Which one? I'm sure y'all all both wear it. But anyway, what do you need? Wait, what? Say that just. Okay. Are you sure that's what you want to add? Because you kind of changed midstream there. Well, you wrote it, and then you went back and killed it, and then you wrote it again. So I'm just asking. Yes. Well, no, you can get the book anywhere. Yeah, Idiot Hidbook, Writer's Future, but you want to know. So you want to know. Is there an age limit for writing for Writers in the Future? As a person, I don't think there is. But and Wulf will tell you this itself. I would take the story and limit it to PG-13. No hard sex, no hard violence, no blood and guts. They sell good. I know some of y'all don't know this, but before y'all's time, I watched TV that was fun to watch. I watched sci-fi and all kinds of TV. And you know what? There was no blood, no explosions. I mean, it was just acting. It was actually good. Now I gotta watch CGI, and I really get to see the actor. I'm just saying, y'all losing out, guys. Anyway, well, time for that rant. That's it.
You're right. They want this. They actually, when those school teachers were talking about how to get people to read, well, young people, they actually target this book, Writers of the Future, for middle grade on up. So it can be encouraging to a young person to see, okay, this is written at our level and up, and here's a contest that we could start entering to try to build our skills and actually have our stories published. So I don't know who the youngest, I know who the youngest artist is because she was mine. I think they have a younger one now. But 15 was my artist when she won the contest. So on the illustrator side. So there isn't an age limit. It's just you'll be competing against, all ages when you submit to the contest. But when you write your stories, just like what Joe said, middle grade on up. So PG-13. And what people think PG-13 is and what they turn in, two different things. You all have been desensitized by the violence on television. So it is not what you really think. So really scale it back, because they are trying to make sure this goes into schools and that the librarians will get it and that the teachers won't take offense at it. So that's their objective, that it should be at that level. And
good job with it.
Oh, yeah.
So who won here? 49, 35. And who are you? Salam Kalinda? From Jerusalem. Hey. Yeah, y'all are one of our biggest listeners. Y'all fight between you and Russia for number one. Don't ask me. I didn't realize there was that many. How can I say? Paranormal listeners in Israel. It's not that big of a country. I will be sure to give me information where you want it set. No, I said it. For the other two, for 48 and 50. 48 is I can't say your name. What is it, like an Arab name? I'm sorry. Don't hate. And where are you? Morocco. So what I'll do is I'll send you either 36, 37, 30. I don't have any 39s right now. But I'll send you either 36, 37, or 38. And that goes for 48 with his Jessica Brown from Cleveland. Oh, like the Cleveland Browns. Yeah, all right. Your football team sucks, right? I'm sorry. They shouldn't have let me on the air. Oh, Lord. No, I haven't been drinking. Oh, yeah, the beard is great. And thank you for saying I'm sexy with it. Yes, my hair's down and a beard's great. Because when I'm not doing TV, I don't diet. I don't like it like that. I worked hard to get these whiskeys. Trust me when I say this. When you get to a certain age, you don't want to give up your whisker.
No, you fight for
them. But anyway, guys, I know we're getting ready to get out of here. Let me get Wulf to give you all the information where you can get everything out, and we'll get out of here.
All right. Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead. You're good.
Oh, okay. All right. So, like I said, I've still got some of these left. So, who won the workbook?
I can't pronounce it. But she's from Jerusalem. It's Selena. I have no
All right. Well, awesome. All right, good. Well, congratulations. That's nice. And if any of you other ones want that, come to my website. I put up a blog post so that you could order it from me there. I've got not that many left of this, and I'll do a reprint, but not before I sell through the last ones. So grab them now while you can. Then let's see. I have workshops, and I haven't posted them on the site yet, but I have recordings. Remember, I did the Kickstarter, and that Kickstarter was to not only launch this book, How to Write a Howling Good Story, which will be out next month. I just finished it, remember? But I also I did 7 new webinars and masterclasses in this. And so if you would like to take a webinar masterclass, you see where it says thesupersecrets.com. If you did thesupersecrets@outlook.com, send me a note and I will send you the list of classes. The master classes are only $100 and you can watch them at your leisure and for the recordings. And then the webinars are $50. I'm teaching a live one tomorrow for Dreamforge Magazine to help support them for another year. Did you have a question, Joe?
Oh, I just seen one of our former winners. Tamara, she's a Canadian. We get a lot of people that win outside the country. And you'd be surprised, I was giving away lightsabers last Christmas. Right? Man, about a third of them suckers went overseas. I'm glad the guy was paying. We sent a lot of books all over the world last year. I was like, which is good.
All right, awesome. And then, so if you get a masterclass, that's how you get into my Wulf Pack. We're on Discord, and that's where I am a writing coach for everybody that takes my masterclass. I don't just teach you the things within the masterclass, but I also stay with you to help you continue to further your career. So we have great writers in there. We're all working together as a team. That's why we do so well in Writers of the Future, because we're all working on one another. You know, like I said, we spar together. We're training against each other. We're critiquing one another's work. So that's all there. And again, to get that, just write to me at thesupersecrets@outlook.com. And then for my stories, to read my works, I am WULF, Wulf Moon. And so if you go on Amazon and type in Wulf Moon, you can find my works that way. And also just going to my website and looking at my list there at thesupersecrets.com. I'm on Facebook at wolfmoon.94, wolf.moon.94, WULF, remember. And on Twitter, I am wolfmoon1 is where I'm at there. All right, so that's the list of things. And any other questions people have on the book?
If I was I'd take the master class. But you said it was $100.
It's $100.
I might take it twice. I mean, come on, guys. Well, before anybody asks about money, there's a lot of this man's time. What you gonna go live on the street or something? He's gonna help y'all out, but sleep on the street. Come on, be realistic. I mean, he does a lot of free stuff already. Don't irritate me about money.
I'm going to read you something from. This is one of our writers. He just sold to 2 of the biggest magazines in our speculative fiction industry, and he took my master class, Heart's Desire and the Reader Hero Bond. It's something I teach that has changed the writing of so many writers. Here's what he said. For years, I've been sending stories to Clark's World, a premier speculative fiction magazine, only to get very quick no thanks from Neil. He's the editor there. He said, then Wulf Moon taught me the importance of putting the protagonist's heart's desire up front on the first page, and I made sure to include that in my latest story. What do you know? Neil bought the story. This is like the pinnacle of our markets. He said, but it didn't end there. A few months later, I thought, what if I try Moon's technique with Kintsugi, another story of his? He said, I had trunked this story because I had sent it to all the big venues, and everybody said no. He said, but there was a new editor at FNSF, Fantasy and Science Fiction Magazine, so I opened the file and inserted a heart's desire right in the beginning to explain why the main character was working so hard to help maimed battle droids. Imagine my surprise. Sail. He said, thank you, Wulf. Your teachings have taken my career to a whole new level. And that's Lou J. Berger. and he's one of the Wulf Pack now. But he saw how many people were succeeding with my program, so he took that masterclass to get in the Wulf Pack. And what do you know, that Heart's Desire masterclass, suddenly he's now selling to all of the top magazines in our speculative fiction industry. So it does work. And just getting a little guidance from somebody that's been there and knows what you need to do can change what your future is. You can change your destiny. It's the way knowledge has always been transferred. A master teaches an apprentice. And when you have a master teaching an apprentice, they already know the way there because they did it. Who else would you want to teach you? Somebody that did it.
That's true. That's what you want.
So that's what I'm doing.
You don't want to teaching you. Come on.
Well,
and that's the thing.
You might get lucky every once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why people are succeeding with my group. So, and my job was to make it easier on everybody.
So y'all know this. I know a few people in Wolf's group. And they don't say nothing but good stuff about it. Matter of fact, it makes me ill sometimes. I say, come on, guys. He can't be that. Man, y'all full of They know. They're like, Joey. I personally know Wolf, so I was giving them a hard time. Yeah, them, not him. But it was funny. It's a great thing.
Oh, yeah. I truly want to help people because I know what it's like. I know the battle. I know the struggle. I had a very violent father, and he'd always put my writing down. I'd come home with award after award, and he'd say, "Well, you're never going to make a living at this." And it really ate at me. It really just broke me for a while. I ended up getting involved in drugs, ended up in a hospital, and I finally said, I don't want my story to be an obituary that this guy died of drugs. And so I changed my life. And I had to fight my way back to writing again because if my dad caught me reading a book, I got beat in the face with it. So I was always supposed to be working on the farm, doing work while he was out selling real estate. And so it was brutal. And I finally had to run away from home and get into a foster home. But I finished high school. I won those contests. I won a bunch of contests. And that's where I got my worth from because I couldn't get it. My mom had left us to go live with a boyfriend in Germany and left us with her dad. And my dad, sadly did not appreciate that I was an academic. Most parents would love that.
Yeah, I know.
You would think you'd be proud of your son that's bringing home all these awards in forensics debate and writing, and all he would say was, "Well, you're never going to make a living at that. Yeah, my name would carry in town. You should be a realtor." And it's like, yeah, that's all I want to do in life. It's like, this is who I was, and unfortunately, I had to fight my way to that. And now that I have. And I always saw if I could win Writers of the Future, that would be my way because I knew people that had won it, that had built their careers. I had friends that had. And so I finally did. And as soon as I won it, instead of going, all right, now I'm going to go make my big career, I turned around and said, all right, let me help these other people who need help. And I did this for several years for free. Okay. And my wife finally said, it's going to do you no good if you're helping everyone else make their careers and you aren't making your career. She said, you have a responsibility to provide for me. And I said, okay, you're right. So I did have to start charging, but I didn't. I truly did all of this to help writers not go through the pain I went through to become a professional writer. So I want to make it easier for you guys. That's my objective. And people that know me know this. So that's why they could tell Joe those things. I've been through hell. Yes. I don't want you guys to go through that kind of hell. I want to make it easier for you. So.
And he can help you legitimately. He really can. Well, if y'all heard double audio, if I go through the audio and it sounds bad, I'll invite Wolf back. Because I don't want to have it messed up. It was just a really good conversation tonight. Carol, Jason, I do know you. I apologize. Yes, I forgot. Yes, Miss. I've won many awards and sold many books. Snotty little thing that you are. What kind of advice you want to give? Oh, never stop trying. Well, that's a given. She's been a regular of ours for years. She's a professional, right? She makes a living. She writes 9 to 5 days a week. Matter of fact, a friend of ours, what's his name now? Dick Redford. He does the same thing. He writes 9 to 5 days a week. How do y'all do that? I can't do it. I gotta feel it. Well, I'm a rookie too. So. How about you, Wulf? Can you just sit and write 9 to 5?
Yeah. Except when I had long COVID, I went from 3,000 words a day to 220 words per day. And because the words were always just out, it's like it gave me dyslexia, but I have none of the skills to deal with it. So I had to fight my way back through that. It's taken me several months. Put my book here behind by about 3 months. But everybody's been really nice about it. But yeah, it's really true. Put your butt in the chair and go to work. Everybody's waiting to be inspired, but your routine, actually, the more you write. And then I teach a master class called Flow State, Release the Kraken Within You. And that's the real trick. When you start building a routine, you get into flow state, and then your stories start writing themselves. You've got to learn the basics so it comes out into a good form that can sell. But when you know that, your unconscious mind takes over and starts creating for you. That's another level of writing. But that's when you're writing all the time, you're actually geared to enter that state. And that's how you can create all these amazing things, because you're constantly doing it. So you're not pushing against your own abilities. They're already running at high octane level. So you just have to turn it on. So
Glenda, stop it. She said this is a sexy old men club. You can't have none. We both married. Sorry. Well, maybe for $29.99, every 10 minutes is that.
Well, you're selling yourself cheap.
Ain't cheap. That's like $2 an hour. That is kind of cheap. You can make more than what I do.
Yeah.
Well, be honest. I know somebody asked me this a couple weeks ago. I never answered. So when I'm working construction, sometimes I'm making $50 an hour. Sometimes I'm making $500 an hour. I've actually made more than that sometimes. It just really depends on what we're doing. How long it's going to stretch out, how long it takes, how complicated it is. Yes. The radio pays for itself. It was making me money before COVID. Matter of fact, it's a true story. I was getting ready to retire from construction company as we give it to my kids. And COVID hit. Station numbers were going through stealing. I spent $240,000 out of my freaking savings account. Yeah, that pretty much drained it, by the way. Yeah, I mean, it was horrible. It was horrible, guys. So the station was making a lot of money. Well, what happened was the advertisers didn't understand COVID. So instead of the 6% or 7% they forecasted growth that year, it was 33%. And when you've got 100,000, 200,000 customers, that's a lot of money you got to pay out. So they contacted all of us and just told us, sorry guys, and they were great. It was dynamo, actually. And in podcast cards, we made about $2,000 a month off. Somebody in Korea hacked. They're going. 365 radio, we were making about $5-6 grand off. They disappeared and came back. They're useless. We had a great YouTube account, United Public Radio. It was making about $8 a month. And one day, for no reason, YouTube just closed the account. We had no strikes on anything. They said, sorry, you're off our network. Like, what? I wrote to him hard to get a lawyer. No, I got a settlement. But still, I don't have the account. Yeah, I would rather have the account than produce cheese. Yeah, because I'm going to spend that on the station anyway. Well, no, before I go back to rule, I promised my wife about 15, 18 years ago I would not spend any more money out of my pocket station. So the station has to make it on its own, which it does. Michelle DeRoche is a hell of a manager. If y'all don't know who Michelle is, she is the paranormal queen. She got more TV programs. She's been on as a paranormal catcher that I know what to talk about. She's a Canuck. She's a Canuck. I love her to death. She's a great manager. Plus, she does all the dirty stuff that I don't have to do.
Anyway,
I'll give y'all one more question for Wulf before we go. Make it a good one. I'll let y'all fiddle around while me and Wulf are talking. But make it a good one. And Destination Charles. What the hell is that? Oh, okay. No, that's actually a good question. So, who is this? Marco Wilson, writing from London, said is writing the book here and trying to publish it here. Is it like the United States, or should I be trying to do something different? He said because he's been following U.S. guidelines, how he should be selling books in the UK. I don't know anything about the UK. Yes, for Wulf.
Yeah, I don't either. So I couldn't answer that question. I don't know that market. So I assume it's similar. So. But I can't answer something I don't know.
Yeah, so, I'm with you on this. Yeah.
I do know, like, a lot of those writers want to sell to this market because there's, like, you think of the Harry Potter books when they hit this market. And Scholastic took them on. Holy smokes! suddenly have $1 billion career. So there's good networks here in traditional, if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you, like Dean Wesley told me one night, because I was bitching about this book. He said, "Shut up, just write the book."
Yes.
I'm serious. That's what he told me.
I was talking with Tom Wood at the time,
and he said, "Joe, just shut up and write the thing."
Yeah.
I couldn't really argue with it.
Yeah. So Dean Wesley Smith was my mentor. I always say, "Here's his mentoring." It's like, "There's the water, Moon. Go swim." You know, that's Dean's mentoring. That's how I would describe his mentoring system. There's the water, Moon. Go swim. So he really expects you to go do the work. You know, that's really what he expects. So and when you do the work, amazing things happen. So, but he gives you guidance. So yeah, he's got courses too. One thing I wanted to remind people, if you go to my website, thesupersecrets.com, like you see it spelled there, thesupersecrets.com, a pop-up will appear in about 30 seconds. Sign up for my Wolfpack newsletter, my club letter, and you'll get notices from me when new things are happening, but you'll also get a prize. So you'll get automatically a free direction to my super secrets that are online, the free ones. But then when I do a Wolfpack Club letter, I do a giveaway in each one. So there's really cool prizes that I give away. And sometimes you'll win a workshop. Others have won editing from my editing business. So sign up for that and, you know, become a part of my Wolfpack Club, and good things can start happening for you.
That question to me, Jocko.
It's a tough one. In media today, you can expect on a decent size show, you can expect 1 to 3% of people to visit. Now, I don't make the rules. You know, it cracks me up. If you don't believe me, go over to YouTube, find a big, huge star. Somebody's got 3 billion plays, and then look over how many likes they got. It's usually like 1.5 million. Figure it out. Unfortunately, people like to listen to stuff. But people have gotten lazy now. I don't know what it is. You know, we never see the amount of like clicks that we should. It just earns my you know what. I don't know. I talked to George Noy about this on Coast to Coast one night. I was like, what? I asked him. I said, what do you expect? He said the same thing, 1 to 3%. I was thinking like 30 or 60%. Yeah, I was not even close. Yeah, I was young. I was ignorant. It's part of everything else you learn as you go. We get a lot of overseas people. Yeah, we get a lot of overseas people. We do target. These days we break up our office. Our archives. And our listeners to U.S. and overseas. So this show tonight is going to probably do between 900,000 and 1.6. Probably out of that, 100 to 300,000 will be U.S. The rest will be overseas. And as you can see, as callers will come in later in the night or early in their time. We were seeing people from Jerusalem, from Morocco, from Germany, from England, Isle Sky, which I want to go. I'm jealous because Wulf got to go. My wife would be Wulf. Man, I've always wanted to go for some reason, and I've been invited to conferences. I just never lets me want to do. There's always something else that.
Isle Sky and then Isla. Both of those islands, they're both big whiskey islands. So all the bootleggers went off to beat the excise men. They went off to those islands to make their whiskey so they wouldn't have to pay tax on it. And so they make some of the best whiskey, best single malt whiskey there is. So.
And I like a good whiskey. I don't get to drink. When I was young, as I got older, then I had a kid. He's going to get all my liquor. For toys, man. I've had some good stuff. I had some Rip Van Winkle set. It was like 16. It was outrageous.
Bourbon.
I said I didn't want to open. So maybe I should put it on a counter. And we get but Jameson wasn't there. With Jack, I can't drink. It's not that. When I was young, I can coke with shot inside. But Jack makes me. Oh no! What it is? Can't drink it. I love it personally. I love the flavor. Like cigarette, maybe cigar. You could do like this. That's the best. And when I got it in Navy, so you didn't want the It's what it was. I wish I could drink cheap bourbon. I could drink cheap whiskey, cheap bourbon. Just drink Jack. Me and Uncle Jack. I couldn't tell you why. What do you mean was on alcohol? After my dad, I would say I was a lot of alcohol. 20. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. And I drink sometimes, but now usually when I drink, I'm out. Well, I still got it. Yeah. There's a bottle of Crown right there. From the first time I ever went to me and Tom Wood, DeSantis, Echo Chernick, and I forgot who else was Tom Wood. It's good. Bar is great. Well, you see, I'll never tell you what hotels were. No, I ain't telling you that. Last year, I asked trying to pay me to show up because they know we all get in the mob. Said no. Not telling you where we at. I said, y'all just have to wait till things go, and I'll tell you. Yeah. It's great. It's great. So let me ask you one more question because I know you've been to Roosevelt and the Lowe's. And you got a personal favorite? I'm just asking because I heard a lot of things.
Oh, I like the Roosevelt just because it's true Hollywood. You really feel. Oh, and it was where the first Oscars were held. So for me, it's got a special feel to it. Where Lowe's is, it's next to the Dolby Center. It's very cosmopolitan feeling. So there's the old world in Hollywood, and that's what I like, that feel of the old world. So that's my favorite. What's that?
Just don't stand in front of it. I watched some judges. They weren't doing it themselves. There was three guys on the side of smoking it up. I said, I got to go inside. Why? Because I'm getting this By the way, just in case y'all noticed, unfortunately, Hollywood Boulevard and come to the side street, they smoke a lot of weed. I was really from New Orleans when it should be stuff. I was kind of disconcerted. In the daytime, there have to be a lot of kids around. They're just smoking it up. And matter of fact, who we were walking with, we were going over to office services, and there's a couple of us. Larry Elmo. By the time we got past the first corner, got to the second, it was sad. There was contact bus kids. Oh my Lord, y'all just being rude. Any other fun words to get out of here? You got a couple minutes to go out.
Parting words for me.
Yeah, for me, we don't want to hear from the rest of these.
So, yeah, just like what I said, that when you're a writer, it's in your heart, and everybody around you is going to tell you you're not going to make money at it, you're not going to be any good at it. Hopefully, you're not don't have a father like I had that actually hurt you if you tried to do it. But
some dads passes.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And you have to be able to say, this is who I am, and therefore I must become. You have to be able to do that. And if you can't do that on your own, get in a group that will help you. There's a lot of groups that just want to talk about it. Get in a group where they're actually writing and training one another to excel. Because you need to really be a good writer to sell to the big markets. And so you have to work your way up to that. And you won't sell there right away. So you're going to get lots of rejection in the beginning because that's your apprentice work. When you first turn out work in any trade, it's not as good in the beginning, and then it gets better as you get skilled. So that apprenticing can be hard. It can take years. If you get a good mentor or good sensei or good trainer that actually has done what you want to do, you will learn faster. So that's always the way to learn the fastest.
Anybody who takes more sports and wins an award, I want 2%. I'm voting to you.
Well, that would be cool. Yeah, do let us know that. So, and Joe and I will be there. So we would love to celebrate that. So I always celebrate when people in the Wolfpack win. Anything. We always, as long as it's what I call respectable sales. These are sales that can get you awards. They're sales that get you recognition. I don't want writers to give away their work unless it's for special things, because writers should be paid for their work, and that's why there's a big strike right now going on in Hollywood.
I know.
So,
Lisa?
No, you can donate some stuff. Look, I learned this
the hard way. I'm sure Wolf learned this the hard way too.
So I used to give away a lot of stuff. All that did is consume an enormous amount of money. Pissed my wife off for taking time away from her. And she just didn't like giving away their conversation for free. So for some of the stuff you teach, you would really pay big money for that. So nowadays I don't do that. I do special requests for people, and it ain't cheap anymore because it takes up so much time. And I do make good money, so I expect my time to be compensated. Sorry guys, it's a real way. No, we do teach podcasts. We do a lot of things. We teach how to do proper backgrounds, making yourself beautiful. I'm always beautiful. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I'm always beautiful. You just get off that. I will kick you out of the chat. No. Oh, okay. I'll ask you. Well, he's just going to tell you book 35. They were asking, which is your favorite writers of future? I already know it's 35.
Yeah, well, you're always fond of the one that you broke out in, so that's true. Writers Future Volume 35, but the year just before, trying to think of the name of the story, Volume 34, the grand prize winner really was an excellent story, and surprisingly was at the 17,000 word level. And I'm trying to think I can't think of the name. Like I said, COVID did a number on my memory, but Darcy Stone is the writer of that one. And it was about a pandemic before the pandemic really took off. So that was good. Had she written that during the pandemic, it probably wouldn't have done so well. But Darcy Stone wrote a 17,000 word story. One thing that helped her, Eric James Stone is her husband. He's a Nebula Award winner, and she's in Brandon Sanderson's writing group. So again, what I was saying, if you've got a good mentor and you get good guidance, that's going to make a huge difference for you. So she actually won with a 17,000 word story. That's one of the best I've seen in the books. So that's Volume 34. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of the title. But Darcy Stone wrote that one. So
do you just ask that last question? I will have. I think I've already got it. But if I don't, I'm gonna have it mail over whatever relevant websites there are. And on the front page, probably underneath all the writing on the left, it'll probably be there. We're getting ready to put a special thing down there for guest links. So that way we can put a little cute picture of the guest and their website and stuff like that.
But if you want free, good writing advice that's guided a lot of people. In fact, I know people that read the super secrets. They hadn't written since high school. They hunted on the internet to find writing advice, found the super secrets. They had sent a story in before they found them, and it didn't even rank. And then she read the super secrets backwards and forwards and sent in her story, and she won Writers of Future second try. That was Leah Ning. So you can sign up for go to thesupersecrets.com and join my Wolfpack Club. I will give you the super secrets free. So go join my Wolfpack Club and you will get free, you that want free advice, there's advice that helped many writers win Writers Future, and not just writers. There's people in Hollywood that read these and have written to me and are now my clients actually. So I'm giving you something that I gave to others to help them get ahead. Now, will they be as good as How to Write a Howling Good Story? No, I wrote those fast for the class. They're like one-page things. These are whole chapters on how to do it. So this is going to be the cream of the crop. But you'll get the idea, and I'm giving it to you for free. So there you go.
No, wait a minute. I'm charged. I'm on my website charging for
it. But you got to sign up for my club in order to get it. And it's free to join my club, and I'm going to give you free stuff if you join it. So why not? So, all of you 1.5 million viewers out there, if 3% of you will go right now to thesupersecrets.com, and it's going to pop up. You got nothing to lose. So, and at least a dozen writers have won Writers of Future, and so many more, I don't even count anymore, have been finalists in the contest. So they could have won. They're in the top 8, but they only have 3 slots, so that's all they can give you. They're all, when you're at the top 8, you're all winners. And then there are many that have writing careers and are now editors at professional magazines. So, you got nothing to lose. It takes you a couple of seconds to go there right now and enter thesupersecrets.com, and a pop-up will come up in about 30, 40 seconds. Put your name down and get my free club letter, and I'll help you out if you want help. So that's the problem. You got to want this.
Yeah, you got to want.
You can't just sit there and have somebody spoon feed you. You got to go do the work. But I'll help you if you want to do the work. And if you take one of my workshops, then you're going to get me to keep helping you. So this is why people are succeeding. I'm invested in you if you invest even just a little bit in your career, and I see you're trying to do something. And that's not just true for me. Professional writers, when they see somebody really trying, that's why all those big names are at Writers of Future. They see people are trying, and they know Writers of Future collects them up. And so when they go there, they know they're giving their energy for free to people who will actually benefit from it. And that's why somebody will give you their time that is ahead of you in the game, because they know you are doing the work and you don't just want it handed to you on a platter.
I agree 100%.
Anytime I hire a new employee, how can I say this nicely? I give them enough rope to hang their stuff. I'm not a good teacher to start off. So I'll spend time with somebody 2 or 3 times. After the third time, I get cranky. I'm like, really? Show you this again? You're probably not cut out for what we're doing here. And with radio hosts, it's a little different, but I do expect them to really push out, really try to get their audiences bigger. My job's not to build an audience. I give them what we can give them, but they still. Some hosts get out there, and they're like, and some will get up there. They want to be late. They don't have time. They don't do the show. That's after about 3 times we just fire them because they're not doing it, and they're hurting the show both after them and before them. Because we have transferable audiences. We do long days. Just don't go to here. It's like today you had Spirit came on. They get 130,000 listeners. FT Wicked followed them. They get about 170,000. Church of David followed them. They get about 180,000. So that's all audience coming to us. They were doing authors tonight. A lot of their audience is to us. And Jeffrey Love's doing all. Matter of fact, I'm going to talk to you about this in the future. So we're formulating a new show. It's just only strictly going to be about authors and illustrators. So I'm bringing on a co-host. But what we're going to do is also different illustrators offers to guest host with. Not so much be a guest, but guest host. You have a wonderful voice. You got a good, solid voice. You got a good, solid voice. You'd be surprised. A lot of writers say, "You're not doing it." Just not.
Well, that's why I've done podcasts too, and I mean, voiceover work for magazines. So it's a good thing to have. Yeah, it's helpful. It'll help me when I start doing. So, like the Howling storybook, I'll do that in an audiobook, and I'll be the narrator for it. So that'll be nice.
So we have a good voice.
Especially when we have
Microsoft's pen.
Exactly. One thing I thought of too for those school teachers before I forget, a lot, if they're still on, or hopefully they'll check back in. But the one of the things, get some YA authors to come to your school and speak to your students, because they like doing that. I know David Farland used to do that, and we like reaching out to young people and helping them. And that can be exciting for young people to actually have the author standing there that made the book. So, and it gives them an opportunity to pitch their book. So it's a win-win, but that'll help. I think that would help your young people too, to get interested. Here's it's like show and tell. Here's the guy doing it, coming to school to tell your kids how they make books. And if it's a book they like, they'll read the book. So it's a win-win.
Because I've been working Writers of Future last seasons. I'm doing a lot of times I'll talk about aliens, politics. Always somewhere. This might bring some with me. Always somewhere somebody will ask me about Scientology, and ask about Writers of the Future. And I said, so why are you asking about the first book? Oh, well, they're not exactly. I said, Elron's paying for this. None of the judges and none of the winners have anything to do with that. I said, now, people who work there do, I can't lie about that. I said, but so far they've all been very nice, very affable. No one's ever bugged me about it. No one's ever judged any of the winners. As far as I know, they've never bugged any of the judges. So y'all can leave that. That's a good excuse to hate, but it's not really a truth. So I just want y'all to know. Let me take it for anybody. I'm not the most friendly to religions. Jesus, God already knows what I've said. Catholic Church. They're going to probably put me in the second hell.
Well, and the contest is exactly to do what it says to do, to find aspiring writers, give them a stage so that they can bring their ideas and their stories into the world. That was the belief of Hubbard. L. Ron Hubbard did that because he was himself a science fiction fantasy writer through the 30s and 40s and on up. That's where he got his start, and many other genres too, by the way. And then I asked Joni Labaki, who's the contest administrator, and she said they fund this through the one of his best-selling books. And like I said, COVID has done a number on me. Battlefield Earth, thank you, and which has been a #1 bestseller many, many times. So it's made a lot of money, and that's been used to fund this contest. So when you go there, it's going to only be about writing and about how you can improve, and you will meet some of the best writers in the industry, and they would never associate themselves with the contest if it wasn't doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. Nor would it survive. This is the 40th year coming up now. It would never have survived this long if it hadn't done what it was chartered to do, which is to give some light to aspiring writers so they could have a chance to be seen and start their careers. Because you aren't competing against all the big names at Writers of the Future. You're competing against other writers who aren't yet pros. They're trying to break in, and it gives a chance for your voice to be heard. So I encourage you to enter, take advantage of all the goodness that the contest will bring you, and keep writing. Keep learning. So it's an apprentice stage you're in, but you will become a master if you stay with it. So whether you do it on your own, it'll take longer, or you get help from a master, it will take a shorter time period. Either way, you have to do the work. So
I'll ask this question, then we got to go. I would suggest that the average winner's age for writers in the future, not illustrators, is probably in the mid-30s. They've had them younger, they've had them older. But it seems to be mid-30s. I mean, out of the 50 I've interviewed, most of them were anywhere from 33 to like 44, 45. A couple of them were in 60s, almost 70. A couple in their 20s, but most of the ones I talked to were. A couple were even family men and stuff. Yeah, they did. Especially if you got other careers. Sometimes you have to take a back seat because you're feeding your family and your wife. Funny. I'll go tell my wife get her ass out and get a job. We'll see how well that goes. I'll be living with Wulf, man. No, I will. I promise tomorrow. I will put his links up, and y'all can go through them like that. Because I know y'all not going to go listen to it again. But I will post them up in the morning, probably after lunch. And y'all can use them to go. Well, yeah. Well, I know most of y'all in chat group are really interested because I've been watching the chat. That's one of the reasons I keep chat, actually. I can tell how much they're paying attention by what they're talking about in the chat group. All tonight they were talking about what we were talking about. But sometimes we'll be having a good show, and all of a sudden you'll see, I had fudge. Oh, it's some ice cream. Oh, man, I'm making steak. What the hell is this? It's so you lost, Joe. You got to get him back. No, he's a great. No, he can't win unless he's an illustrator. Then he can. Yeah, you can win both.
Yeah, people have. I know the first one that did. He was in Eugene, Stephen Stanley. He was the first one to win both.
Has Lazarus won both or just one?
Yeah, just one.
Just the writers.
Yeah, because he was a judge. He was a judge of the illustrator side, I should say. Yeah, just so people know.
He's married to a really good artist.
Echo Chernick. Echo is unbelievable.
Not only is she a fabulous talent, but she's a fabulous person. She's too much.
Yep, she's wonderful.
And we have a good time. But she's a little tougher than some of the judges. That's the wrong word. She's working with you. She does a lot of individual stuff. But she's more pointed to how she deals with people than some of the other judges. Everybody's got their own style.
You can say things nice, but if somebody doesn't tell you, hey, unless you fix this, you're not going to be able to progress, and they know what they're doing, it's probably good to take a look at that. So, and I'd rather have somebody do that than just say, oh, you're wonderful, this is beautiful. It's like, well, that won't do you any good. So, because obviously you're not where you want to be yet. So you need somebody that's going to say it straight, say it nice, but say it straight, point out your good stuff too. But if somebody doesn't show you what you need to do, you're not going to advance. So and that takes guts sometimes, because you're going to tick some people off, but wouldn't you rather have someone tell you straight so you don't keep honesty? Yeah. So I've always liked level shooters, people that say it like it is. Those are always the people I know aren't fake. So I like being around them. So
it's we gotta go, guys. Don't stop with the crazy questions. I just told you both y'all were married. Yes. Wait, how much? How much an hour? 500. Come on. My wife would just laugh. She'd be buying you jewelry. Just retards. But tomorrow the site's will all be up. Come by and click them. No, they'll be up there for quite some time. So the way the new sites work, they'll go up, and then as we add another, the walls will be at the top. Yeah, so just go over there and click. Yeah, it'll be right there. It'll have his name up there. It has cute face and stuff like that.
And I forgot to tell you about this. Game On. So this just came out, and you can get this on Amazon right now or at your favorite retailers, but it's edited by Stephen Kotowicz, who was a grand prize winner in Writers of the Future, and Tony Pye, who was another winner in Writers of the Future. And I have a story in here about a sea nymph that's trapped on a beach by a goblin chief. and she has to play a deadly game of chance to free herself. So this is in Game On, and I hope you'll get this. And this is from the company Zombies Needs Brains. Zombies Need Brains. What a name for a company. I mean, almost the name of the company almost always steals the show. So, but Zombie Needs Brains, and you can go catch this, like I said, on your favorite retailer. And I have a story in here that I think it's a dark fantasy I think you'll love. So, and also one of the Wolfpack are in there. David Hankins has a story in there too. So,
yes, check them out, guys. No, we gotta go, people. No, we can keep all night, but we got a life.
I got to teach them another class tomorrow, webinar. There's one spot left. It's in Dreamforge magazine. If you go there, if you want to learn how to write titles, title is your first hook. That's what I'm teaching tomorrow.
There you go.
All right.
I'll ask him this before we go.
So the gentleman wrote in from New York. He said, how do you go about picking the cover art? I mean, do you have a certain person you're using, or you have an idea in your head?
Yeah, so what you do is you get somebody, you look at other people's work, and when you find one you like, you go talk to them and say, who did that for you? So, and you get their name, all right? And then you go talk to them and say, here's my idea. You might do a sketch of it, or you might just tell them. So, like, for mine here, How to Write a Howling Good Story, she's actually a member of my Wolf Pack, and she had done a cover for Murder Birds, which is what a lot of our actually half the people that submitted to that are from my Wolf Pack, or the super secrets that got in. But she had done a beautiful cover for them, and so I talked to her, and she was in the Wolf Pack, so it was real easy. Ruth Nickel is her name. And I said, can you do a cover for me? I want some wolves on it. And, background. And we worked on the color. Actually, I got some advice from Dave Chesson on how to make that really pop in the coloring. So that was really nice, the Kindlepreneur. And that's how we came up with that. So she did the whole works for me on that. She also did my logo of Wolfpack Writers. So I sent you that logo. It's in that little set. So she did those wolves that you see, the two wolves. I said, I want two wolves. I want it purpley because that's my favorite color. So this is what you do. You're the art director then, and you're telling them, once you find somebody that does your style you like, you talk to them and you guide them. And then you toss it back and forth a few times. Okay, so that's good, but I want the moon to be orange because orange is a bicolor. It pops. So you go through stuff like that with them. So anyway, that's how you do it.
And people both side note, okay. A good cover will help you sell books. But if there's crap inside, it won't matter how good the cover is on the next one. I'm just telling.
Yep, you won't build a career that way. You'll actually irritate a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
So learn your craft.
I'm kind of like, let me see that did what's on my head just saying.
And you'll see it like the banner he was just talking about. You'll see it tomorrow when we put the website up. Yeah, we're going to put one or two different little icons. Little pics. Well, no, we just like to add stuff. It makes it look better. Okay, whatever. Yeah, I see a lot of questions. I'm sorry, guys. You already gave the book away, and we gave some other stuff away. I do have some other books to give away, but it's too early in the season. Yeah, sorry, guys. We usually give them away from starting Thanksgiving to January 1st, every day.
But he is actually going to be giving away this book because I talked to my editor, and he's shipping one out. They're just in Canada, so it'll be from a different event. But Game On will be given away too on the program.
Yes, it'll sit back there for a while. See, what we do is. You see the writers of different books. That's not you, and that's Bazer's book. So as we get into the next season, every book you see behind me is going to get given away. And then we've got other stuff that we're going to give away. But all that stuff on my desk is going, except from the Greek and Roman philosophers. That's not going anywhere. They're all classics. You're not getting those books. But it's a you talking about that little dot right there?
So this is the logo with the wolves. I don't know if you can see it. So this is for my Wolfpack Writers. And you can see the trees in the purple, and then the moon is on it. So, but yeah, so I directed her to design, 2 wolves howling, because it's how to write a howling good story. So there you go. And then our logo, and then the trees and Wolf Moon. So all that's in there. So you're looking for things that make statements, things that pop. So like with my name, obviously I got to have wolves in it. Howling good story. So shape back to my brand, which is the wolf. So the moon in the background, Wolf Moon, you see. So make sure your covers make a statement. So that's something else I can.
Important.
Yeah, your brand is you. So that's another whole different level. But thinking about brand, like I told you, I was in sales for many years, had my own companies, and so sold to some of the biggest companies in the country. But brand is really important. So,
Darius, in a couple weeks, we are going to do John. We're doing a news show on running your own businesses versus working for someone else. I've done both. I've had high positions in companies. I've had crappy positions in companies. I've owned businesses that I sold. And for a while there, I was making a living selling websites, Facebook pages and domains. You got to know you have to tell Facebook pages. Yeah, you can. And just names off, like News and Flipside or Essentials. I think it was News on One or something. A company bought it for $15,000. Then we had another news when they bought for $1,000. Yeah, you'd be surprised. You can make some money. Domains, you can make a lot of money if you get the right name. I mean. Yeah. In the old days, I just don't have the time anymore. I do it now. We gotta go stop. I gotta go to bed. I gotta eat. I gotta do all kind of stuff. But Wolf, thanks you're always fabulous. I mean, I always love having you.
Hey, good to see you, Joe.
One of my favorite writers of the future.
Well, thanks.
Again, I'm asking questions. You can't come unless you're invited. I'm sorry, guys. You can be a winner. You can be a fast winner. There's lots of things you can be. But you have to be something. I'm pressed. That's why I get. I'm the guy who makes sure everything's enough. Well, I've had people, winners ask me about stuff, and they were relieved to talk to somebody. Yeah, it's a great thing. And I run a little intermediate, so sometimes when the newbies are there, I'll between them and the judges. They'll be standing like in a corner above them, looking at somebody's Come here, I'll grab my hand, walk with me. Give me, and I'll sit down next to him, just staring at. I'm sure the judges like that. But it does. And they do talk. That's what they're there for. That's what they're there for. I haven't met any judges that don't know to talk to. Shit, a couple invite you to lunch and stuff. I'm not kidding. Yeah, a couple late. We go ahead and have lunch. We'll talk at lunch. Yeah. So Kevin Anderson had a birthday this year. I think I remember. Is that who it was? I went to somebody's birthday party. There was one of the judges. And I got to listen to Dean Leslie Smith and Kevin talk about the lead singer for Rush. That was just pervy information.
Neil Peart.
I can't tell you. I can't tell you. I was just glad they let me listen to
the drummer. Actually, the drummer.
Yeah. But it's not. But anyway, we're gonna go. Wolf can get some sleep. I can get some food. I can go harass my chihuahua. Walk back.
Well, it was great to be with you again, Joe, and great to be with your people. So, thank you guys all.
Again, if I was I would take special on the master course. The man's giving you that deal. He's giving you a deal.
And you know what it's done for people, and it's like, why wouldn't you want to
I know.
Get another level up. It's done it for so many other people, and I can do the same for you. For that, you got to write to me, thesupersecrets.com, and I'll send you out to what the classes are that I've got.
There you go, guys. On that note, good night.
Okay. Oh, yeah. The supersecrets at outlook.com if you want to write direct to me about that. Or you can message me there's a spot on my website where you can go down and send me a message. It'll get to me either way. So, all righty, guys. Thank you so much. Pleasure to be with you again, Joe. Looking forward to seeing you again next year at the gala.
Yes, we're going to get in trouble. Me and Wulf are going to get in trouble. We're going to bring Echo. Real trouble.
Yeah, well, if you get Echo in there, that's dynamite.
But we got to go, guys. I hope you enjoyed the shows. Pictures are great. Right to the show. I don't care. Just wasting time right in the boss anyway. We got a lot of new stuff coming for you. Nothing we can talk about right now. But stay tuned for it. And we have some new shows coming on the network. On that note, good night. Stay tuned for Speak Out Radio.